Chapter 569. Hai Wuya, you dare to stop me. Lin Ku's gaze turned to Hai Wuya as he threw out a blade attack. He did not put Hai Wuya in his eyes at all. Lin Ku, I have not settled the score with you guys from last time. Today, I will settle it all together. Hai Wuya let out a breath that he had been holding in, and a massive deep ocean swirl appeared behind him. It spun slowly but powerfully, providing Hai Wuya with a lot of power. Boom. His feet slightly sank as he put his 5 fingers together and threw out a palm attack toward the blade light. On one side was the blade light that contained the withering profound, while on the other side was the palm power that contained the profound of water. The two were like water and fire. The moment they clashed, waves of shockwaves shot out in all directions, spreading out for dozens of miles. Limitless ocean. The bald Hai Wuya leaped up from the ground. His left hand was placed in front of his chest, while his right hand twirled in the air. Boundless water elemental chi gathered and merged into his palm. With a loud shout, Hai Wuya attacked with his most powerful palm strike. This palm strike contained a torrential force of water. Spring returns to withered tree. Lin Ku, who had long gray hair, had a cold expression on his face. He gripped his blade with both hands and charged into the sky, slashing out again and again at the powerful palm energy. His blade technique was profound to the extreme, and in the deathly stillness, it erupted with the mighty force of a withered tree returning to spring. Every slash caused the powerful palm energy to divert. Boom, boom, boom. The two famous young martial geniuses seemed to have a grudge against each other for a long time. The fight between Yi Chen and Yuan Jie was only a spark. Head disciple, are you not going to help? Ling Tianhao said to Yang Fengfeng. Yang Fengfeng shook her head. All martial geniuses have their own pride. Hai Wuya's power is not that much weaker than mine. If I go up and help, it will only make him unhappy. Yeah. Ling Tianhao nodded as he focused on the battle between Hai Wuya and Lin Ku. He was extremely excited, wondering when he would be able to reach this level. The conflict between the factions is indeed intense. Yi Chen could tell that he had become the excuse for both sides to explode. Even without him, they would find other excuses. But, comparing the two, it was obvious that Lin Ku was the one who was being aggressive. Boom. Hai Wuya and Lin Ku exchanged an attack and both of them were blown away. Hai Wuya, my profound of withering doesn't feel good, right? You are destined to lose if you fight with me. Lin Ku's clothes were torn and tattered, making him look like a beggar. However, his eyes were shining brightly and filled with battle intent. His entire being was like a blade. Hai Wuya's face was unnaturally pale, and there were a few inconspicuous saber wounds on his body. He laughed coldly. Don't force yourself. Under the might of my palm, it's impossible for you to remain unscathed. The victor is still unknown. Hehe, I really want to see who will be the first to give up. Lin Ku stared at Hai Wuya. Bring it on, I'm not afraid of you. As Hai Wuya's voice faded, the water yuan qi in the air suddenly froze, turning into ice shards that scattered in all directions. In the next instant, the surrounding temperature suddenly dropped by 10 times. A gust of cold wind blew past, causing the broken stones on the ground to crack and explode. Frozen land and river. A cold voice rang out. In the distance, a vast expanse of whiteness spread out rapidly. That momentum was like the arrival of an ice age, freezing everything. Crack, crack. Hai Wuya did not have time to react and was frozen by the ice yuan qi. The water yuan qi around him also became an accomplice, joining in the freezing process. Within a blink of an eye, a massive ice statue was formed, and in the center of it was Hai Wuya. Besides Hai Wuya, the rest of the bystanders were not having a good time. They were all trying their best to defend against the invasion of the ice-cold power. Their protective Jin Yuan was covered in a thick layer of frost. Yi Chen held his gold sword in his hand, slicing apart the incoming ice-cold power again and again. The sword light clashed with the ice that was formed by the ice-cold power, exploding into the sky. The ice shards shone with a colorful light under the sunlight. Down below, the mountains and rivers had all started to freeze, and everything was dead silent. Duan Lungya, do you really think that you are unbeatable? Right next to Ling Tianhao and Miao Yin, a burning blue flame exploded out. It was indeed Yang Fengfeng who had attacked out of anger. She pushed out both of her hands in front of her, and that rich fire power spread out in a fan shape, attacking toward the source of the ice power, that handsome young man with green hair and green leather armor. Ice and fire were not compatible. Ice and fire 9 layers. Right then, it was the battle between the fire power and the ice power. The conflict was even more intense than the battle between Hai Wuya and Lin Ku, since the two Jin Yuan and Profound did not reject each other at all. So, it was hard to say who would be the winner. Boom! The burning heat and the ice power clashed together, causing a white mist to spread out everywhere. One could not even see their own fingers. But, it was only temporary. As the blasting wave spread out, the white mist was blown into the sky, opening up the view in front of them. Swoosh! Yang Fengfeng stood on top of the mountain with the blue flame burning around her. The mountain under her feet started to defrost quickly, and with her as the center, the fire power spread out slowly. Countless ice pieces turned into water, flowing down to the bottom of the mountain with a crisp sound. Crack! The ice sculpture that sealed Hai Wu Ya suddenly exploded, and Hai Wu Ya was freed. Duan Lungya, you are so despicable. Hai Wuya's face was even paler now. He had been wounded quite badly after battling with Lin Ku. Most importantly, Duan Lungya's ice profound naturally countered his water profound. Judging on battling power, he was actually not that much weaker than Duan Lungya. But, under the situation of being countered, he knew that he would not be able to fight against Duan Lungya. Plus, it was a sneak attack, which he could not react in time. Stepping on the ice flowers, Duan Lungya walked over with his green hair. Hai Wuya, you were distracted. What does that have to do with me? If it were not for Yang Fengfeng, I would have made you lose all your face just now. You. Hai Wuya stared at Duan Lungya angrily. Shoo. A beam of blue flame flashed past, and Yang Fengfeng appeared right next to Hai Wuya, standing right next to him. She was afraid that Duan Lungya and Lin Ku would attack Hai Wuya together. Duan Lungya's pupils shrank. Yang Fengfeng's speed was the thing that scared him the most. In fact, no one below the life and death realm would not be scared of her speed. Yang Fengfeng, don't worry. I will give you face. But, I will not give face to the others. Whoever hurt you and Jie, stand out now. Duan Lungya yelled. Yi Chen frowned. Lin Ku and Duan Lungya were both extremely aggressive. No wonder they were able to hang out with people from the Yuan family. It is me. Yi Chen took a step forward. Good. You have guts. Duan Lungya grinned, looking unfriendly. Duan Lungya, what are you trying to do? Yang Fengfeng's eyebrows frowned. There seemed to be a blue flame burning in her pretty eyes. I am not trying to do anything. I just want to give my brother an explanation. Duan Lungya took his brother disciple to the Sky Marshal Pavilion to test his potential. The test did not take long, but after he got off the mountain, he realized that Lin Ku and Yuan Jie had disappeared. Then, he sensed that there was an energy vibration 100 miles away. Following the source of the vibration, he rushed over. Not to mention that Yuan Jie was in the wrong. Even if we were in the wrong, it would not be up to you to tell us what to do. Yang Fengfeng sneered. Oh, so you are trying to protect this brat on purpose. Duan Lungya squinted his eyes. What if I am? What? That would mean that you are not giving me face. Since you are not giving me face, then why should I give you face? Duan Lungya was not 100% sure that he could beat Yang Fengfeng. But, the situation was quite good for them. That frozen land river attack of his had already wounded Hai Wuya even more. As long as Hai Wuya fell down, he and Lin Ku would be able to take down Yang Fengfeng easily. It was also the reason why he suddenly attacked Hai Wuya. Brother Duan, you stall Yang Fengfeng. I will take care of Hai Wuya. Lin Ku had already decided to attack, since this kind of opportunity was hard to come by. Alright, let's make it quick. Duan Lungya's eyes were cold. The ice power outside his body kept on roaring, seeming like it could explode at any second. Brother Hai, let me help you. Yi Chen would not just sit and watch Duan Lungya and Lin Ku get the upper hand. If he had no other choice, he would take out his semi-extreme rank greatsword, the Thunder Disaster Sword. With the sword, even if he could not win against Lin Ku, he and Hai Wuya together would still stand a chance. Head sister disciple, let's go as well. Ling Tianhao and Miao Yin rushed up as well. Li Xiaoyun and Jing Aoshuan exchanged a look before flying behind Yang Fengfeng and the rest as well. They did not have any grudges against Lin Ku and Duan Longya, but the two just annoyed them a lot. Plus, Yi Chen was from the southern region, so they would have to help their own people. Shoo. Shoo. On the other side, Duan Longya's two disciples stood out with an unfriendly expression. There were 7 people on one side and 4 on the other. It seemed like Yi Chen's side had the upper hand, but Hai Wuya was wounded after all, while Lin Ku's battling power was not affected that much. The two sides were hundreds of meters away from each other, facing each other quietly. Everyone watching held their breaths as they stared at the 11 people on the two sides without blinking. They knew that the battle between the two parties was about to explode, and it would be very intense. Cracking a smile, Duan Longya lifted up his hand and said slowly, "Move." Before he could finish the word move, a handsome young man appeared out of nowhere on top of a mountain in the distance. He was wearing white robes that were embroidered with plums, orchids, bamboos, and chrysanthemums. He stood there quietly as a wave of powerful aura spread out. Under this powerful aura, everyone felt very small, as if they were facing the whole world, and the handsome young man was the center of it all. Stop it. This is the territory of the Sky Marshal Pavilion, not a place for you to fight. The handsome young man said lightly. Bai Wuxue. It is Bai Wuxue. One of the top 5 young warriors, Bai Wuxue. When did he get here? How come I did not know anything? Everyone watching was shocked. Yi Chen frowned. He did not spread out his soul power at all times, so the handsome young man's appearance was very unexpected. Everyone here was at the Sea of Souls realm. Even if they did not have their soul power, their senses would still be very sharp. The fact that the handsome young man could appear out of nowhere meant that his power was indeed horrifying. Chapter 570. Bai Wuxue. Duan Longya frowned as his raised hand slowly dropped down. If one were to say that he was scared of Yang Fengfeng, then he would be even more scared of the top 5 young warriors. The top 5 young warriors were the kings of the young generation in the Sky Marshal region, and each of them had the power of a top master-level warrior. Although Du Gujue and Dantai Mingyu were very powerful, they were still young after all, and did not have enough time to accumulate. Compared to the top 5 young warriors, there was still a huge gap between them. The top 5 young warriors were all unpredictable. Even the famous master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors would not dare to underestimate them. 2 years ago, one of the top 3 master-level blade artists, Shen Qianlang, had lost to one of the top 5 young warriors, Xiao Chuhe. Because of this, a lot of the powerful master-level warriors would choose to avoid the top 5 young warriors when they encountered them, since they were afraid that their reputation would be ruined. So, unless it was absolutely necessary, they would not face the top 5 young warriors head-on. As one of the top 5 young warriors, Bai Wuxue's power was earth-shattering. It was said that he was the only warrior below the life and death realm to walk out of the blood-crying ghost place alive in the past 20 years, which was a king-level forbidden place. Without king-level power, one would not be able to make it back. Bai Wuxue, we are already hundreds of miles away from the Sky Marshal Pavilion. Please give us some face. Lin Ku did not want to give up such a great opportunity. Bai Wuxue said lightly, "Your brother Lin Tian would not dare to ask me to give him face, but you, as his brother, have walked ahead." Hearing him, Lin Ku's face darkened. He was the second successor of the Lin family, one of the top 4 families, while his brother Lin Tian was the first successor. The two had the same father but different mothers, but they were both very talented. But Lin Ku had only become famous in the recent years, while his brother Lin Tian was way more powerful and famous than him. He was one of the young warriors who had the highest chance of making it to the top 5 young warriors. Lin Ku, let's go. Duan Longya started to think about backing out. Bargaining with Bai Wuxue would be too unwise, since the weak would not have the right to bargain with the powerful ones. Compared to the top 5 young warriors, they would be the weak ones, which was an unchangeable fact. The 4 brought Yuan Jie, who was badly injured, and flew into the distance. Soon, They disappeared into the horizon. Bai Wuxue, we did not ask for your help. Yang Fengfeng did not have a good attitude towards Bai Wuxue. Others might be afraid of the top 5 young warriors, but she was not. With her super speed, even the top 5 young warriors would not be able to do anything to her, provided that they did not get too close to her. A rare smile appeared on Bai Wushue's face. What's wrong? Do you think I am helping you? Actually, your strength is comparable to theirs. I just don't like them. Hee hee. You, Bai Wuxue, do not hide your preferences at all. Yang Fengfeng chuckled. Obviously, Bai Wushue's answer had satisfied her. Which one of you is Yi Chen? Bai Wushue's gaze swept around before finally landing on Yi Chen. Yi Chen didn't know why she mentioned him, so he said, I am. Oh. Bai Wuxue nodded. He did not mean anything else. He was just surprised to see a purple name appear on the wall. Dugu Ju, Dantai Mingyu, Yi Chen. It seems like our top 5 young warriors' positions are starting to be shaken. With a bright laugh, Bai Wushue's body flashed, turning into a light white shadow and flying out. He was silent and fast like a ghost. Yang Fengfeng turned her head and said to Yi Chen, among the top 5 young warriors, Bai Wuxue is the most easygoing person, and he has killed the least people. Yi Chen nodded. I can feel that the killing intent on him is very faint. There are countless geniuses in the world. The only one that I admire is Bai Wuxue. He is untainted by dust and does not lose his sharpness. What is rare is that his talent is not very high. He is only ranked 28th on the Wall of Fame. However, his achievements are not inferior to the other 4 giants, Hai Wuya said as he spat out a mouthful of cold white qi. His complexion became slightly rosier. Yang Fengfeng shook her head. That was 5 years ago. If it were now, Bai Wuxue would definitely be able to make it into the top 10. Potential is not something that stays the same. In the end, it still depends on the individual. Being powerful is not really powerful. Having a strong heart is what makes a powerful warrior. Hundreds of miles away, Duan Langya and Lin Ku were flying. Yuan Jie, what is that brat's name? Duan Langya asked suddenly. Yuan Jie was badly wounded, so he said weakly, Yi Chen. Yi Chen. Duan Langya's expression changed. What? Lin Ku asked. Duan Langya said word by word, his potential is ranked 3rd on the wall. 3rd? Indeed impressive. No wonder he could compete with me in terms of aura. Lin Ku was shocked. Duan Langya said with a low voice, it is not just 3rd. In fact, he is just as famous as Dugu Ju and Dantai Mingyu. He has passed all 7 challenges, and his name is Purple. What? Yuan Jie and Lin Ku's expressions changed. Who were Dugu Ju and Dantai Mingyu? They were the same kind of martial geniuses as Shen Hu. In the past 1,000 years, there had only been 3 of them. In other words, with enough time, as long as they could continue to grow, they would be able to surpass the top 5 young warriors and become famous in the whole Sea of Souls realm. Yi Chen being able to compete with Dugu Ju and Dantai Mingyu. What kind of joke was this? Brother Duan, you are not joking, are you? Yuan Jie did not even care about his wounds as he said hurriedly. Duan Langya glanced at him. Do I look like someone who is joking? Lin Ku's cold expression did not exist anymore. After changing his expression a couple of times, he said coldly, so what if he is just as talented as Dugu Ju and Dantai Mingyu? Even Dugu Ju and Dantai Mingyu would not dare to say that they would definitely be able to reach the life and death realm, not to mention him. Yeah. How could he? Duan Langya's 2 disciples agreed. Since we have already had conflict with him, then don't think too much about it. I, Duan Langya, have never been afraid of anyone. One day, I will step on the top 5 young warriors as well. Duan Langya cracked a smile, showing his white teeth. Martial geniuses were all proud, and they would not think that they were not as powerful as others. They were all extremely ambitious, and mere potential would not scare them. Looking at the battle scene, Yi Chen said, let's go. Yeah, it is indeed time. Hai Wuya nodded. He had been wounded quite badly, and would need to rest for half a month. Be careful on the way, Yang Fengfeng reminded him. Don't worry. The Sky Ocean Martial School is not that far from here. Then, we will leave now. Hai Wuya held his fists together before flying into the distance with his brother and sister disciples. Brother Yi, are these your friends? Watching Hai Wuya leave, Yang Fengfeng turned her head and looked at Li Xiaoyun and Jing Aoshuan. Yi Chen introduced, "This is Li Xiaoyun, and this is Jing Aoshuan. They are both my friends." Then, he said to Li Xiaoyun and Jing Aoshuan, "This is Yang Fengfeng, the head disciple of the mysterious martial school. Your friends are quite loyal." Yang Fengfeng was very satisfied with what Li Xiaoyun and Jing Aoshuan had just done. Facing Lin Ku and Duan Lungya, they were still able to stand out, which showed that they were quite determined. "Yi Chen is from our southern region. Of course, we will stand out," Li Xiaoyun said naturally. "Hihi, come to our mysterious martial school." Yang Fengfeng invited the two. Millions of miles away in the Thunder region, one of the top 4 danger places. Thunder Tomb, Pap, Pap. In the center of the tomb, the frequency of the lightning was getting higher and higher. Within a blink of an eye, there would be at least hundreds of lightning strikes. After about the time it took to brew a pot of tea, endless lightning exploded. The eye-piercing light was extremely aggressive, looking like a bright white sun. There was a loud boom. The ground shook. In the center of the lightning explosion, a massive object broke out of the ground, shooting into the sky at a speed that was hard to be seen by the naked eye. It was a massive altar wrapped in twisted lightning, dragging a long lightning flow behind it. When the altar reached a height of 10,000 meters, the power disappeared and it started to fall down. The intense pressure made the lightning in the air even more violent, bringing up endless explosions. Clang! The altar landed on the ground. It was a 400 meters wide and 100 meters tall 6-pillared altar. In the center of the altar stood a black-robed man. If Yi Chen were here, he would definitely recognize the identity of the black-robed man, because he was the Yin demon ancestor who had been trapped in the underground world. Yin demon ancestor was full of anger. He had been trapped in the underground world for 3 years. If not for the undying altar, he might have been trapped there for the rest of his life. During these 3 years, he had been hating Yi Chen every second. If not for him, he would have been able to obtain the secret art of the undying body 3 years ago, and would have been able to use the undying altar to escape and return to his world. Pop! The white light interweaved into the defensive layer of the altar and Yin demon ancestor walked out. Damn it! Yin demon ancestor's palm struck the ground, causing the earth to shake. At this moment, seeing the light of day again, Yin demon ancestor felt a bit unreal. However, this feeling was soon replaced by a figure. Right then, there was only Yi Chen in his mind. He swore that he would make Yi Chen suffer a fate worse than death, and that he would not have suffered these 3 years in vain. In these 3 years, even if this kid's progress is shocking, he would not have reached the Sea of Souls realm. A mere astral reaching expert is not worthy of my attention. Once I capture him, I will let him taste the feeling of suffering a fate worse than death. No, I will first make him hand over the undying body secret art. With it, my suffering during these 3 years would be worth it. Yin demon ancestor's eyes flickered, revealing a sneer from time to time. He seemed to have already seen Yi Chen kneeling on the ground with a frightened expression. Hihi, wait for me, kid. I, Yin demon ancestor, have come for my revenge. Offending me is the biggest misfortune of your life. With a shoo, Yin demon ancestor turned into a black shadow and shot out. On the way, he made a grabbing motion with both of his hands, shattering 2 astral reaching experts who were passing by. He really needed to vent his anger and frustration. These 3 years had almost driven him crazy. After all, 3 years was a very short time. Staying in one place for 3 years without knowing when he would be able to get out, and not having the chance to go out in this lifetime would make anyone feel bad. Plus, he was not a normal person, but a master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior who had the chance to reach the life and death realm. Chapter 571. Accepting Yang Fengfeng's invitation, Yi Chen, Li Xiaoyun, and Jing Aoshuan stayed at the mysterious martial school as guests for a day. During their stay, the 4 chatted happily, exchanging their own experiences in the martial arts. They were all rare martial geniuses, and sometimes, one inspiration or one natural change could help them make a breakthrough. While exchanging information, they all felt that they had been enlightened in certain areas, which would save them a lot of time in the future. One day later, Yi Chen and the other two left the mysterious martial school. Now, I will have to go on my own. On top of a nameless mountain, Yi Chen stood alone, looking at the endless mountains and rivers. As for Li Xiaoyun and Jing Aoshuan, they had their own things to do, so they had already separated from him. Collecting the materials for the antidote for the shadowless poison is not something that can be done in a day. I should go somewhere with more people first and ask around. Shoo! Yi Chen turned into a beam of light, flying toward the nearest city. The East Royal City was one of the top 10 cities in the world. The biggest power in the city was the Jiyu family. Although the Jiyu family was not one of the top 4 families, they used to be the number 1 family in the world. It was because this family used to have a titled emperor warrior, the East Royal King. Right now, the Jiyu family was like a sun in the west, but a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Among the rank 5 families, the Jiyu family still had quite a bit of prestige. The East Royal City was huge. It was even bigger than the Thunder City, which was also one of the top 10 cities. It would take a few days for a normal person to walk from the East Gate to the West Gate. Although the warriors who had reached the condensing reality realm could fly, no one dared to fly in the sky above the East Royal City. There was a rule in the East Royal City, which was that flying was forbidden. Anyone who dared to fly in the sky would be disrespectful to the Jiyu family of the East Royal City. The lightest punishment would be imprisonment for a few days, and the most severe punishment would be beheading in public. In the west of the East Royal City, there was an inconspicuous pavilion. It was 7 stories high and had an ancient look. There was a plaque hanging on the door with the words Knowledge Pavilion written in silver. The pavilion was a place for information, and each floor had its own price. The first floor was for normal information, the second floor had a certain value, and the third floor and above was not a place that normal people could go. Any piece of information up there could cost a normal clasping Yuan realm warrior's entire fortune. The Knowledge Pavilion had a powerful background. Even the Jiyu family of the East Royal City didn't want to mess with them. If they needed any information, they had to go through the normal channels. Imperceptibly, the status of the Pavilion of Knowledge became higher. On the first floor of the pavilion, a cold beauty with a calm temperament was sitting on a chair behind the counter, flipping through a book with an extremely serious expression. A group of people walked in from outside the door. The one in the lead looked like he was in his 20s. He was not that handsome, but his body was huge. He walked like a tiger, with a pair of sharp eyes. Anyone who was stared at by him would feel like their heart would stop beating. He was a direct disciple of the Jiyu family. His name was Jiyu Ping, and he was one of the rare martial geniuses of the Jiyu family. He had reached the Sea of Souls realm at the age of 32, and had been training for 2 years. His battling power was even more powerful than the older generation of Sea of Souls realm warriors. Miss Nightingale, long time no see. Jiyu Ping walked to the counter and said to the cold beauty with a smile. The beauty moved her eyes away from the book, lifted her head and said lightly, "Mr. Ping, we have just met last month. What kind of information do you want this time?" "Shadowless demon." Jiyu Ping only said those 3 words. 6th floor. A surprised expression flashed past the beauty's face as she answered. "All right, wait for me this time. Miss Nightingale, would you do me a favor and have a meal with me?" Before going upstairs, Jiyu Ping turned around and said with a smile. He was obviously interested in the beauty. Not interested. After saying that, the beauty went back to reading her book. "I believe you will be interested." A hint of displeasure flashed past his eyes as Jiyu Ping asked the others to stay downstairs while he walked up the stairs to the 6th floor. "So, this is the pavilion?" At the corner of the street not far away from the pavilion, Yi Chen scanned the surroundings and found the pavilion. Lifting his feet, Yi Chen walked over. "Move." On the first floor, there was a group of people blocking the way. If one wanted to get in, he would have to crawl through the corner. Obviously, Yi Chen would not do something like that. Hearing Yi Chen's words, no one said anything, and no one moved out of the way. It was as if he did not exist at all. Frowning, Yi Chen pushed his Jin Yuan and shook his body. The group of people who were blocking his way were pushed back to the sides, creating a path for him. Brat, you are looking for death. How dare you to do whatever you want in the East Royal City? Your death is not far away. This group of people were all at the Sea of Souls realm. But the pavilion was not as simple as it looked. It was covered with restrictive spells, and the attack that Yi Chen had just used did not even have the power to shake the pavilion. But of course, with his pure Jin Yuan and powerful sword intent, it would not be hard for him to blow away a group of normal Sea of Souls realm warriors. The beauty lifted up her head and said lightly, "Do not make too much noise in the pavilion. You all get out. Miss Nightingale, we are from the GU family." This group of people were used to being rude and unreasonable, so they reminded the beauty. "Get out." The beauty waved her hand. She did not use her Zhen Yuan, but the restrictive power that was everywhere in the pavilion had been directed by her. It blew the group of people out, leaving only Yi Chen. "What kind of information do you want?" As if she had done something insignificant, the cold beauty asked. Yi Chen said, "It is about the shadowless plant and the rootless flower." Actually, there were a lot of ingredients for the antidote, and he was not only lacking the shadowless plant and rootless flower. But Yi Chen was afraid that if he mentioned too many ingredients, it would cause unnecessary trouble. Plus, he had to take it one step at a time. So, saying 2 ingredients would be enough. Shadowless plant and rootless flower? A strange expression flashed past the beauty's face. "Do you know the rules of the pavilion?" "Yes, the information on the 4th floor starts at 100,000 low-rank spirit stones, the 5th floor starts at 5,000 top-rank spirit stones, and the 6th floor starts at 30,000 top-rank spirit stones." The shadowless plant and the rootless flower were both rare plants, so it would be impossible to get information below the 4th floor. Nodding, the beauty said, "Since you know about it, I believe you have the money to pay for it. You can go to the 6th floor to ask for what you want." "Thank you." Holding his fists together, Yi Chen walked toward the stairs. On the street outside of the pavilion, a group of Sea of Souls realm warriors from the GU family looked extremely pale as they stared at the beauty angrily. "What are you talking about? Isn't she just a manager from the pavilion? If we were not inside, I would be able to beat her with only one hand." The pavilion was covered by an invisible inhibition power. As one of the deacons of the pavilion, the cold beauty could control the inhibition power to attack anyone who entered the pavilion. That was also why no one dared to challenge the pavilion. The inhibition power was too horrifying. The existence of the pavilion has affected the reputation of our GU family. If it were not for the fact that it had such a powerful background, we would have taken it out already. The footsteps stopped as Yi Chen arrived at the 6th floor. "What kind of information are you looking for?" Right in front of the stairs was a counter. The middle-aged man behind the counter said lightly. Yi Chen said, "Plants. In the 3rd room." The middle-aged man pointed at the 3rd room. Arriving at the door, Yi Chen pushed the door open and walked in. There was only one table and 2 chairs inside. It was not that big, but because of the lack of furniture, it did not seem crowded at all. Instead, it gave people a very safe and private feeling. "What kind of plants?" A voice was heard out of nowhere. Yi Chen looked around and did not notice anything out of the ordinary. He knew that it was a trick of the pavilion, so he answered, "Shadowless plant and rootless flower. I know a little about this. I will go." One of the voices was heard. Then, the wall of the 3rd room was opened, and a normal-looking elder walked in. Information about the shadowless plant, 40,000 top-rank soul stones. Information about the rootless flower, 50,000 top-rank soul stones. "Do you want both?" the elder asked. "Yes." Yi Chen nodded. "There are 3 news about the shadowless plant. The first one was from 50 years ago, and I heard that someone had gotten it in the soul-losing valley in the Sky Marshal region. The second one was from 19 years ago, and it was located in the Star Regional Lake. Someone had seen it on a strange island, but it had disappeared later on. The third one was from 1 year ago, in an underground crack 5.5 million miles away from the northwest of the East Royal City. Someone had also seen it before. Plus, there is a kind of evil creature called the Shadowless Demon, which is good at stealing bodies. It is invisible and formless, and astral-reaching realm warriors would die for sure if they go there. There is only one information about the rootless plant, which is also in the underground crack. But it is in the deepest part of the crack. If you run into an underground lake with light spots, you might be able to see it. Alright, please pay 90,000 top-rank soul stones. Taking out 9 huge boxes filled with top-rank soul stones, Yi Chen thought to himself, it is so easy to earn money here. Just by opening your mouth, 90,000 top-rank soul stones would be the entire wealth of a normal Sea of Souls realm warrior. But then again, it was also reasonable. Information was the most valuable thing, but also the least valuable. The key was whether or not it was needed, since it would not be for free. It would take a lot of time and effort to get it, so how could it be sold at a low price? Walking out of the third room, Yi Chen saw the door of the 9th room open as well, and a tall young man in his 20s walked out. The two of them looked at each other, then shifted their gazes and walked toward the staircase one after the other. Such a powerful sword chi. He would be a good material. Ji Ping, who was walking in front, had a weird evil smile on his face. This person is not a good person. I wonder what kind of evil martial art he has trained. Yi Chen seemed to have sensed something. Arriving on the first floor, Ji Ping started to talk to the cold beauty. Yi Chen left the pavilion directly. As for those Sea of Souls realm warriors at the entrance, they seemed to be waiting for someone, so they did not try to cause trouble for Yi Chen. Only one of them sprinkled a bit of colorless powder at Yi Chen, sticking it onto the corner of Yi Chen's clothes. Meanwhile, in the Thunder City millions of miles away, there was another pavilion. A man in black robes walked in. Chapter 572. 5.5 million miles was a long distance, and it took Yi Chen 10 days to arrive at the underground crack from the East Royal City with his flying puppet. Fortunately, those 10 days were not wasted either, as his Sky Thundercut and Amaranthine nature had made breakthroughs one after another. The former had reached 80%, and the latter was catching up as well, reaching 80% as well. Originally, when the Sky Thundercut was at 70%, its power combined with the reverse Sky Thundercut would be equivalent to the 90% gold resonant radiant sword art. Now that it had reached 80%, its power had almost doubled. It had even surpassed the completed gold resonant radiant sword art, becoming Yi Chen's #1 ace attack. Amaranthine nature did not seem to be as powerful as the gold resonant radiant sword art, but in terms of attacking skills, it was not something that the latter could compare with either. Its effect could not be ignored at all. With the improvement of the two top sword attacks, Yi Chen's overall power had reached a whole new level. Unfortunately, ever since his void-shattering finger art had reached 50%, it had been stuck there for a long time. Yi Chen knew that there was a huge gap between the space mentality and the space profound, which would not be that easy to cross. But, once he did, it would bring about a huge change in his power. Putting away his flying puppet, Yi Chen released his soul power. Everything within 500 miles was within his detection range. Achem? Nothing. Yi Chen frowned. Within his soul power's detection range, there was no sign of the underground crack. Could it be fake news? No, the information from the pavilion is a gold brand. Without solid proof, they would not sell it. There must be something blocking my soul power detection. Soul eye, open. Opening his eyebrows, a silver vertical eye appeared on Yi Chen's forehead. It was half squinted, revealing only a slit. A silver light shot out of it, traveling through the surreal space and reaching thousands of miles away. Everything within those miles was like a phantom, appearing in Yi Chen's mind one after another. Pap. Closing the vertical eye, Yi Chen's face was slightly pale. It's too hard to control the soul eye. With my current power, I can only use a small part of its power. Plus, I can't control it as I please. I wanted to see everything within 500 miles, but I could only see a few thousand miles away. I wasted a lot of my soul power. My soul I can see far and near. I can see billions of miles away, even the stars. When I'm close, I can see everything around me. The Eye of the Soul was Yi Chen's special ability. As Yi Chen reached the Sea of Souls realm, Yi Chen had slowly mastered a bit of the usage of the Eye of the Soul, which was even more powerful than the soul power. Things that could not be detected by the soul power would be exposed under the observation of the eye of the soul. Just now, he had already seen everything within thousands of miles. In his mind, countless images flashed. The things that the eye of the soul saw would not disappear, but would be stored in his mind so that he could flip through them at any time. Otherwise, there would be way too many things within thousands of miles, and even Yi Chen would not be able to tell which was which, since the human memory was limited after all. There is an underground crack here. No, it is only a small crack, less than 1,000 meters deep. It should be left behind after the battle between Sea of Souls realm warriors. Underground river, volcano hot spring, big valley. Inside the mountain, there is black chi coming out. There is a crack. This is it. As more images flashed past, Yi Chen's attention landed on the latest one. It was a huge mountain 300 miles away. There were many tunnels inside the mountain, crisscrossing like a web. In the upper right corner of the mountain, there was a cave with 100-meter-long crack. Rolling black chi was spreading out of the crack, which seemed to have the ability to devour soul power. That was why Yi Chen did not notice it before. 10,000 miles away, a huge weird bird with burning wings was flying at an extreme speed. On the back of the bird, there was a group of people, led by Ji Ping. Master Ping, the 1,000 miles soul-chasing incense has lost its effect. Behind Ji Ping, a person's expression changed as he said hurriedly. Ji Ping frowned. The tracking range of the incense is 18,000 miles. You said earlier that it was 13,000 miles away. How come it is gone now? I do not know either. Perhaps he had found out about the incense. Impossible. Ji Ping shook his head. The incense is colorless and odorless. It is made with top-rank shadowless plants and other precious materials. Without the senses of a king warrior, it would be hard to notice. Plus, if he had found out about the incense, he could have just thrown it on the ground. There would be no need for him to destroy it, since it would be the same as telling us that he had found it. That is true. He should have entered some unknown place, right? Ji Ping's face darkened as he said, the place where we went was the same as where he went. Perhaps, he had asked for the same information in the pavilion as I did, or maybe there is some kind of connection between them. What is Master Ping planning to do? Let's not worry about him for now. Let's find the underground crack first. If he is in there as well, then it would be killing two birds with one stone. A creepy cold light flashed through his eyes. No one knew what Ji Ping was planning. Arriving inside the mountain, Yi Chen soon found the entrance of the crack. At the entrance, black chi was everywhere, and a cold wind was blowing. Soul power spread out, but most of it would be devoured by an invisible power. It was as if there were many horrifying monsters inside the black chi, eating away at the soul power. Thunderbird change. Yi Chen waved his right hand, and a bird made of thunder and lightning flapped its wings, drawing a perfect arc in the sky before diving into the crack. Pap! Countless thunder sparks exploded, and the blue light did not go out for a long time. Shoo! Seeing that there was no danger at the entrance, Yi Chen flashed his body and jumped into the crack. Right after that, the rolling black chi covered up the entrance once again. Stepping on the uneven hard rock, Yi Chen could feel the cold chi entering his body through the soles of his feet. Under this kind of cold chi, normal people could easily fall sick and have hallucinations. Even the energetic and brave men would start to feel fear. Yi Chen had the slaughter sword spirit, which made him invincible. Once the cold chi entered his body, it would be destroyed by the pure slaughter chi. The crack was a slope. Yi Chen followed the slope and slid down, waving his hand to cut off the sharp rocks that were reaching down from above. Demon Evil Stone. With a quick glance, Yi Chen saw a silver-black crystal stone on a rock wall. It was indeed the Demon Evil Stone that could only be found in the extreme Yin region. Waving his hand, the Demon Evil Stone left the wall and landed in Yi Chen's hand. The Yin Qi in this place is extremely heavy, even more than the extreme Yin region. The Demon Evil Stones that are exposed outside are all top grade. One of them would be equivalent to 4 to 5 normal Demon Evil Stones. Putting away the Demon Evil Stone, Yi Chen continued to slide down. Soon, Yi Chen had gotten dozens of Demon Evil Stones. For people who had not trained their martial spirit, it would be a great treasure to train their willpower. For Sea of Souls realm warriors with low-rank martial spirits, it would be useful as well. However, Yi Chen's slaughter sword spirit was already at peak level rank 4, so no matter how good the stones were, it would be useless unless he could find some demon evil crystals. Hualala. The sound of running water was heard from ahead, making the crack even more deadly silent. Hearing the sound, Yi Chen frowned. According to the information he had gotten from the pavilion, the rootless flower would appear in places with lakes. With that thought in mind, Yi Chen increased his speed, flying toward the source of the sound like a ghost in the dark. Stopping his steps, Yi Chen stopped in front of an unknown river. Obviously, it was not a lake, since there were no light spots on the surface of the river. Even his soul power would be absorbed by the river. The deeper he went, the more his soul power would be absorbed. 10 meters down, he would not be able to sense anything at all. It was unknown where this river led to, but it was getting further and further away. It seemed like it was connected to hell, making people feel extremely depressed. An extremely horrified sound was suddenly heard from afar. It sounded like a ghost scream, but also like a ghost's haunting. In this creepy environment, it would be enough to scare any normal person to death. Yi Chen frowned. He thought about it and decided to check it out. Right then, a weird snake with a tumor on its head jumped out of the river. It opened its mouth, shooting out a stinky poisonous chi like an arrow, aiming right at Yi Chen's face. Yi Chen did not even look at it. He threw out a thunder lion with his left hand. It was the thunder lion transformation of the thunder beast transformation. The brutal thunder power was the nemesis of these kinds of evil creatures. The weird snake was instantly burnt, falling into the river. No one knew if it was dead or alive. Inside a dead silent cave, a young man and a woman appeared. The young man's face was full of fear. His eyeballs almost popped out of his eye sockets. He opened his mouth and let out an inhuman scream from time to time. Chilling wind blew on his body, and the cold air was very obvious. Behind him, it seemed like something was invading his body. Occasionally, he would glance at it and see a blurry human figure. That person's face was blurry and cold, making one's scalp go numb. Go. Go. The young man held his neck with one hand and tried his best to push the girl away with the other. No. The girl's tears kept falling down. Her face was full of fear and unwillingness. If they had known that this place was evil, they would not have come here in the first place. Go. If we don't go now, I will not be able to control myself. It is trying to take over my body. Go. Let's go together. The girl was very unyielding. She waved her hand and attacked the young man's back. Unfortunately, her Jin Yuan could not reach the blurry human figure at all. It went right through and caused half of the cave to collapse. The young man's eyes turned white, and his pupils could not be seen anymore. The cold air on his body had even frozen the air, leaving only a trace of the blurry human figure outside. Shoo! The dead silent air moved slightly. Out of nowhere, a young man in blue appeared not far away from the two. His pupils shone with a silver luster, seeming to be a bit surprised. Who are you? Go. If you don't go now, you will die with us. The girl's face flashed with surprise at first, then joy, and then despair. She and the young man were both master-level warriors, but even they could not deal with this thing, so it would be even worse for the other side. She did not want to drag someone down with her before she died. Maybe I can deal with it. The young man in blue appeared in front of the young man with one step and put his hand on the latter's shoulder. Chapter 573. You can handle it. The woman was about to say something when she suddenly saw a shocking scene. Yi Chen's right hand rested on the young man's shoulder, and in the next second, a horrifying sword intent exploded out. This sword intent contained a boundless killing intent, and under the washing of the killing intent, the cold chi in the cave was instantly obliterated. The young man's body shook as he felt as if he was being cut by 1,000 blades. However, compared to the feeling of being cut by 1,000 blades, the temporary recovery of his consciousness gave him a glimmer of hope amidst the despair. Feeling the enormous threat, the vague human figure behind the young man let out an eerie and sharp roar. This roar didn't have any killing power, but it directly penetrated into the soul. The young man and the woman's consciousness immediately became muddled, and they were completely defenseless. Piss off. A silver light beam shot out of Yi Chen's eyes as the killing sword intent shot out. Its power increased to another level as it landed on the blurry human figure. Pop! Yi Chen's killing sword intent was extremely horrifying. If it were not for the fact that he was afraid that the teenager might not be able to handle it, he would have suppressed the power and range. Otherwise, that attack would have been more than enough to destroy the blurry human figure. Although it was not destroyed, it was still blown out of the teenager's body by the sword intent. Once the blurry human figure left the teenager, it could not be seen anymore. Even Yi Chen would not be able to sense it, unless he opened his soul eye again. But, opening it twice in such a short period of time would consume a lot of his soul power, which would make him quite exhausted. Pap! As the blurry human figure disappeared, the teenager's body softened, and he knelt on the ground. Zhuo. The girl hurried to help the teenager up. I am fine now. The teenager's voice was very weak, and his body was cold. Let me help you up. Holding the teenager up, the girl looked at Yi Chen. She thought that Yi Chen was only a normal Sea of Souls realm warrior, who was not even as powerful as her. But now, she did not think so anymore. His sword intent was extremely horrifying, and even that weird thing could not handle it at all. It had been blown out of Zhuo's body. You have saved Zhuo's life, which means you have saved mine. So, from now on, I, Li Qingxiang, owe you my life. The woman said gratefully. Yi Chen didn't care too much about their words. What he cared about was their names. He asked, Are you Zhuo and Li Qingxiang from the southern sector? That's right. You are. The woman and the young man raised their heads. Yi Chen smiled. Maybe you don't know me. My name is Yi Chen. Yi Chen. The girl named Li Qingxiang froze for a second before smiling as well. Yes, how could we not know each other? You were the host of the last tea gathering, and Zhuo was also the host of the tea gathering. We pay a lot of attention to it. Since we're all from the southern sector, there's no need to thank us or owe us anything. When we're outside, we should help if we can. If it were you guys, you would probably do the same. Zhuo swallowed a pill to replenish his energy. Then, with Li Qingxiang's support, he slowly stood up and said with a bitter smile, I didn't expect the one who saved me to be you, the famous person in the southern sector. Maybe this is fate. By the way, where is that thing? Yi Chen glanced around and said, it was badly damaged, so it should have left. The slaughter sword intent was targeted at the invisible and shadowless evil creatures, and its lethality was extremely high. Not to mention these evil creatures, even warriors at the same level would not be able to withstand the impact of the sword intent at close range. The sword intent could ignore physical defenses and directly harm the opponent's mind. However, the opponent was not an idiot. He would definitely release his martial will to counteract the sword intent, and after a part of the sword intent was counteracted, the lethality would be almost negligible. Zhuo said with lingering fear, this place is very strange. A high cultivation doesn't mean anything, but a powerful martial intent. Both Qingxiang and I have high martial intent, but we still couldn't hurt that thing. If we stay here for a long time, it will take advantage of us. Yi Chen nodded. This place was indeed strange. He could vaguely feel that there was something horrifying down there, like the source of hell. We shouldn't stay here for long. Let's go out together, Li Qingxiang suggested. Yi Chen said, I still have something to do. You guys go out first. Don't worry. That thing was hit by my slaughter sword intent, so it won't be able to threaten you anymore. Then, be careful. Zhuo and Li Qingxiang did not want to stay here anymore. This place gave them too much pressure. If it were not for Yi Chen, they wouldn't even know what would happen to them. The two left the cave and flew back the way they came. Soon, they disappeared from Yi Chen's perception. Shadowless demon? Yi Chen mumbled to himself. East Royal City Pavilion. There was a transportation stone door in the side hall on the first floor. Woo! The whirlpool inside the door spun, and a man in black robes walked out. This brat is really good at running. He actually came to the Sky Marshal region. The man in black robes was indeed Yin Demon Ancestor. He had first gone to the Thunder City Pavilion to ask about Yi Chen. After knowing that Yi Chen had come to the Sky Marshal region, he directly went to the East Royal City Pavilion through the transportation door. Of course, he had paid a huge price, which was half of his wealth. If it were not for the fact that he had made up his mind to get the Undying Body secret art, he would not have wasted it like this. I want to ask about someone. Walking out of the side hall, Yin Demon Ancestor said to the Cold Beauty. What cultivation? If it is below the Sea of Souls realm, then you should just leave. The pavilion was not omniscient. They would only search for valuable information. Warriors below the Sea of Souls realm would not be worth it. If it were personal information, then it would be a different story. Of course, personal information of warriors below the astral reaching realm would not be worth it either. Sea of Souls realm cultivation. As he said these words, Yin Demon Ancestor cursed inwardly. He had already known that Yi Chen had reached the Sea of Souls realm, which was really unimaginable. 6th floor. The Cold Beauty said. Hearing her, Yin Demon Ancestor walked toward the stairs directly. It was not the first time that he had searched for people through the pavilion, so he was quite familiar with the way. Inside the number 1 room on the 6th floor, what a coincidence. The person you are looking for just came here to ask for information 10 days ago. Because he is our customer, you will have to double the price, which would be 100,000 top-rank soul stones. The elder said expressionlessly. Hearing him, Yin Demon Ancestor clenched his teeth. All right, I will take it. His heart was bleeding. He had already spent half of his family's wealth in the Thunder City Pavilion, and now that he was in the East Royal City Pavilion, he would have to spend another half. Right now, his wealth was not even comparable to a normal Sea of Souls realm warrior. An underground crack 5.5 million miles northwest of the East Royal City. The elder said calmly. There were huge mountains everywhere, seeming to be endless. Shoo, shoo. 2 human figures shot out of a huge mountain, heading into the distance. Young Master Ping. On a mountain peak not far away, a group of people stood there. One of them saw the 2 leaving, so he reminded the tall teenager in the lead. The tall teenager's gaze followed the direction of the 2 and said, let's go check it out. Yes. The group of people flew out. Inside the huge mountain, near the crack. Haha. Finally found it. Let's go down. A joyful expression flashed through Jiu Ping's face as his body disappeared into the black chi, heading toward the crack. The rest of them did not hesitate as they followed. Shadowless Demon, although you are a nightmare for most people, for me, you are a powerful tool. No one knows that I have found a powerful secret art of making shadowless demons in an ancient ruin. With this art, I can make shadowless demons into shadowless puppets, which will allow me to take over the bodies of my enemies and make them work for me. With enough shadowless puppets, there will be more death warriors who are willing to die for me. Hee hee. Flying in the front, a creepy look flashed through Jiu Ping's face. Young Master Ping, I have sensed the 1,000 miles soul-chasing incense. It is right down there. Right then, someone behind him said happily. Hearing him, Jiu Ping's expression changed. Good things happen one after another. Let's follow them. Remember, do not alert them. Keep a certain distance. If Yi Chen ran into the shadowless demon and both of them were badly wounded, then his success rate would be much higher, and he would be able to get a death warrior. Swoosh. The group of people heard the sound of flowing water, so they came to the river and looked around. They did not know where the river was leading to. Following the direction of the river, they could see that the ground was getting lower and lower, and the water was getting faster and faster. In the end, it had turned into a series of waterfalls, looking like a huge staircase. Eventually, the water flowed into a straight crack, going all the way down to the bottom. It was an extremely creepy place. It was pitch black, and one could not even see their fingers in front of them. Even soul power could not spread out in this place. Chin. A chain clanking sound was heard, as if the god of death had returned. Yeah, my demonic will is wounded. Quite a powerful sword intent, and its power has reached the peak of rank 5. Not bad, it is qualified to be one of my clones. Hehe, they thought that this thing was a shadowless demon. Unfortunately, This is a shadowless demon with an owner, which is also formed by my demonic will. Killing one shadowless demon would not hurt me at all. I can create more shadowless demons anytime I want. Deep in the darkness, a horrifying voice was heard. Go. A vague vibration spread out, and endless evil wind rushed up through the crack. If one could see it with their naked eyes, they would know that it was exactly the same as the blurry human shadows from before. However, there were so many of them that it was hard to imagine. With each breath, there would be dozens of blurry human shadows flying out. The blurry human shadows jumped into the river and went against the current. Wherever they went, the cold air spread out, and even the water seemed to have stopped. Along the way, the blurry human shadows passed by a lake, which was shining with green light spots. It seemed like it was formed by the gathering of green light. The crack is too big. If I follow the water, I should be able to find the lake. Walking out of the cave, Yi Chen followed the direction of the river and walked deeper. Below him, countless blurry human shadows were rushing towards Yi Chen. According to their speed, it would only take half an hour for them to run into each other. Unknowingly, Yi Chen was facing a situation where there were wolves in front of him and tigers behind him. Of course, he did not know it yet. Chapter 574. Human Puppet Art, Assimilate. Beside the river, Ji Yuping suddenly stopped his body. Both of his hands moved like butterflies as he formed a spell. All of a sudden, an invisible power spread out with him as the center. It was extremely powerful, but it did not even cause a ripple in the river. Buzz! From the surface of the river, a blurry human shadow was shaken out, flying towards where Ji Yuping was. This is the shadowless demon? So weird. The warriors brought by Ji Yuping could feel their scalps tingling as they could not help but take 2 steps back. Don't worry. This shadowless demon will not be able to do anything to me. Ji Yuping laughed out loud. The secret art that he had obtained from the ancient ruins was indeed the forbidden art of the puppet martial school, the human puppet art. It was different from normal puppet arts, as the materials used for it were not inanimate objects, but living ones. Because of how evil this secret art was, it eventually led to the destruction of the puppet martial school. He's injured. Ji Yuping thought that it would not be easy to make the shadowless demon, since he had never tried it before. However, the process was surprisingly smooth. He could tell that the shadowless demon was very weak, as if it had been injured before. Shadowless puppet, done. After that, Ji Yuping opened his left hand and closed his fingers. All of a sudden, the blurry human figure shrunk into a ball and gathered in his palm. Ji Yuping opened his left hand again. There was no longer a blurry human figure, only a blurry ghost mark. It was like a living creature, twisting and turning. Haha, it's done. I didn't think it would be so easy. After successfully crafting a shadowless puppet, Ji Yuping was filled with confidence. He felt like he could see countless death warriors following behind him, fighting for him. The human puppet art of the puppet sect. This brat's luck isn't small, he actually obtained something that many people dream of. Unfortunately, the human path puppet technique isn't that easy to cultivate. If I didn't remove my control over the demonic will, I would have turned you into an idiot just now. Deep underground, a cold and ethereal voice rang out. Let's go. There should be more shadowless demons down there. Ji Yuping was flying in the front with high spirits, absorbing all the cold chi around him into the mark on his palm. There is a shadowless demon here as well, but not the one before. The slaughter sword intent automatically protected his body. Like cutting a piece of paper, it sliced a blurry human figure that was attacking him into dozens of pieces, which were hard to heal. What? Slaughter sword intent? An exclamation came from the depths of the ground, as if it was extremely fearful of Yi Chen's sword intent. My demonic soul is at peak level rank 7, and the demonic will that I split out is also at rank 5. Let's see how much you can handle. If you were a life and death realm warrior, then I might be a bit worried, since I would not let my demonic will get damaged for nothing. Unfortunately, you are only at Sea of Souls realm. Although you have the power of your sword intent, your control over it is still not as good as a life and death realm warrior. Take over his body. The voice calmed down and became eerie and terrifying. Buzz 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 buzz, a formless vibration spread out, and countless blurry human figures rushed out of the river, attacking toward Yi Chen. Their protective Jin Yuan was practically non-existent. Kill. Inside his sea of soul, the slaughter sword spirit vibrated. Halos of sword intent spread out one after another. With Yi Chen as the center, not a single blurry figure could get close to him. All of them were bounced away. Those blurry figures lost their strength and sank into the river to recover. Come back. A voice was heard from the depths of the ground. Those wounded blurry figures went back the way they came, eventually merging into the darkness. In the next second, brand new blurry figures rushed out and joined the battle. So many shadowless demons. Yi Chen's expression changed slightly. Destruction sword intent, go. As the slaughter sword spirit vibrated, the second sword spirit vibrated as well. Meanwhile, the slaughter element in his sea of soul merged with the sword intent released by the second sword spirit, forming a slightly weaker destruction sword intent, but with a more horrifying aura. The combination of the destruction sword intent and the slaughter sword intent was like a tornado, spreading out in all directions. Those blurry human figures were first sliced into pieces, then swept by the destruction sword intent, melting them into nothingness. Even the possibility of recovery was gone. Damn. This is the destruction sword intent, which is even more horrifying than the slaughter sword intent. Where did he learn it from? No. If I keep losing the demon will like this, it will affect my demon soul greatly. I will take over the bodies of the people behind me first. The being in the depths of the ground had a slight fear towards the destruction sword intent. Although the slaughter sword intent could also destroy his demon will, it was only in a one-on-one situation. Meanwhile, the destruction sword intent was pure destruction. No matter if it was tangible or intangible, nothing could survive it. All the blurry figures dove into the river at the same time, quickly swimming upstream. They left. Yi Chen frowned. He finally knew why Zhuo Qiu and Li Qingxiang could not even handle one shadowless demon. First of all, their martial spirits were only rank 4, while his slaughter sword spirit was only at the peak of rank 4, but its power was at the peak of rank 5. There was a whole rank and a half difference between the two. Secondly, the martial intent was more balanced than the sword intent, which was the sword intent. Its speed, defense, and attacking power would all be increased. However, in the underground crack, balance meant mediocrity. If one's attack power was not enough, then they would not be able to hurt the shadowless demons. Although the defense power of the will had been increased, under the constant attacks of the shadowless demons, there would still be a time when one would feel tired. Any slight carelessness would lead to the shadowless demons being taken advantage of. However, Yi Chen's sword intent could destroy the shadowless demons with one attack. Even facing a group of shadowless demons, he could still hurt them. As for the defense power of the will, Yi Chen did not need it at all. Before those shadowless demons even got close, the sword intent would have already sensed it, and it would automatically protect itself. Added with the destruction sword intent, Yi Chen was as hard to deal with as a porcupine. I will deal with it when it comes. I will go look for the rootless flower and the shadowless plant first. In this cold and gloomy environment, Yi Chen did not feel the slightest bit of fear. On the path of martial Dao, there was no room for cowardice or fear. The sword Dao was born from the martial Dao, but it was even harsher than the martial Dao. Shoo! Turning into a beam of blue light, Yi Chen flew downstream. Ah! Master Ping, save me. Something is trying to take over my body. I cannot hold it anymore. Save me. I do not want to be taken over. Screams were heard everywhere as Ji Yuping's face turned pale. Where did all these shadowless demons come from? How can I handle them all by myself? If it were just 2 or 3 of them, Ji Yuping would have the confidence to handle them. But there were dozens of them, and Ji Yuping thought he could protect himself. Plus, according to the information he got from the pavilion, there were not that many of them in the underground crack. Human puppet spell. Train. The invisible power spread out like a net, grabbing the dozens of shadowless demons that were trying to take over the Ji family warriors' bodies. However, The power of the dozens of shadowless demons had already surpassed the pulling power of the human puppet spell. No matter how hard Ji Ping pushed his puppet spell to its limit, he still could not stop them from taking over their bodies. All he could do was watch them enter his warriors' bodies. Puppet Pearl. At the critical moment, Ji Ping threw out a shining bead, which spun and floated above his head. Right after that, the bead shot out the same power as the human puppet spell, increasing its power. Come here. With the help of the pearl, Ji Ping was like a god. His invisible power had been doubled, and he managed to drag the dozens of shadowless demons out. Huh. You even have a puppet pearl? What a great fortune. But it is not worth mentioning in my eyes. Demon will drill. A light vibration spread out as 4 shadowless demons combined together, turning into a shapeless drill, drilling into the pearl. Pap. The cracks on the surface of the pearl spread out, and the dim light dimmed. No. My puppet pearl. Ji Ping's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. The puppet orb was a support item that could push his human puppet art to another level. It was exactly because of the orb that he dared to come to this underground crack. After all, he knew that his human puppet art had not been trained to completion yet. Crack. The puppet pearl was shattered, turning into a dim light and disappearing. Run. Ji Ping did not have any other thoughts. As long as there was life, there would be hope. This many shadowless demons had already crossed his bottom line. Where do you think you are going? Upstream, more and more shadowless demons appeared, surrounding the group. At the same time, all of the Ji family warriors that Ji Ping had brought had their bodies taken over one after another. Their eyes turned white as an intense cold chi rose from their bodies. They did not look like living creatures, but zombies. As more and more of the Ji family warriors were taken over, Ji Ping's face turned grey. He could never have thought that this fortune would turn into a nightmare. Your power is not bad, and you know the human puppet spell. Let my main demon will take over your body. Among those shadowless demons, a blurry human figure that was even more muscular walked out. It opened its mouth like a black hole, swallowing Ji Ping instantly. Ji Ping struggled inside the blurry human figure's body, using his martial will to attack it from time to time. But this blurry human figure was way more powerful than the other shadowless demons, so it did not help at all. After a long while, Ji Ping stopped struggling, allowing the human figure to enter his body and take over his body. Pap. Ji Ping's feet landed on the ground as he opened his eyes. Different from the others, his eyes did not turn white. Instead, they looked normal. However, there was a darkness in the depth of his pupils, as if there was something horrifying hiding inside. The cold chi on his body was very faint as well. If one did not look carefully, they would not be able to sense it at all. With a grin, Ji Ping let out a creepy sound. Hihi, I finally have a good incarnation. Now, I can use it to go out and see what the outside world is like. But before that, I will first take over that kid's body. His body is more suitable to be my incarnation. Once the 2 incarnations are formed, there might be a chance for me to escape. Go, let's go. Ji Ping waved his hand, and countless blurry human shadows jumped into the river, following the direction where the river was flowing. Meanwhile, the warriors of the Ji family who had been possessed flew forward numbly. Their movements were synchronized, and they looked lifeless. Chapter 575. It was a huge lake. The surface of the lake shone with green light spots, which made the whole lake look crystal clear. It was as if it was made up of green light, which was extremely magical. This is it. Seeing the lake, Yi Chen's eyes brightened, but then he looked confused. The underground crack was full of danger, and there were hundreds of shadowless demons. He wondered how the pavilion knew that the rootless flower and shadowless plant were growing here. Had a life and death realm warrior come here to check it out? No way. Yi Chen shook his head. Life and death realm warriors would not fall to this level. Then, would it be a top master level warrior? That was not possible either. The shadowless demon was way more dangerous than the rumors. If it were not for his slaughter sword intent and destruction sword intent that could suppress the shadowless demon, Even if it were another master-level warrior with a rank 5 sword intent, he would still be killed. How would Yi Chen know that the shadowless demons here were the demonic will of some powerful being? The owner of the demonic will would not care about normal warriors at all, and would not touch them at all. Only the young martial geniuses would be its prey. It could be seen from the fact that a group of powerful warriors from the Jiyu family had been possessed by the normal demonic will, while Jiyu Ping had been possessed by the main demonic will. The pavilion has a very high status. Perhaps they have some other unknown channels. Getting rid of all the unnecessary thoughts, Yi Chen lifted up his head and looked at the sky above the lake. Achem! Yi Chen's eyes flashed as he saw a floating green flower hundreds of meters away in the sky above the lake. It was only the size of a palm, with 2 petals that looked like thin wings. Below the flower, where the roots used to be, there were 2 extra feelers that looked like long legs, waving slightly. Come here. Yi Chen recognized it immediately. It was indeed the rootless flower. He waved his right hand, and a suction force appeared. It seemed like it had sensed the threat, as the 2 petals of the rootless flower flapped intensely, trying its best to fight against the suction force. Meanwhile, a huge amount of green light spots flew up into the sky, forming a green shield, blocking out Yi Chen's suction force. Interesting. Putting down his right hand, Yi Chen stomped on the ground lightly, and his whole body jumped out into the air, arriving in front of the green shield within a second. Break. He formed a fist with his right hand, and a thunder lion appeared. Yi Chen threw out a punch at the shield. Pap. Boom. Boom. The jade-green barrier surged with lightning and exploded with a bang. Yi Chen passed through it. Just as the rootless flower was about to fall into his hands, the undercurrent of the lake below surged, and a long black shadow rolled out as fast as lightning. Yi Chen's expression did not change. He retracted his right hand and reached for his waist. The next moment, a golden sword light burst out and flashed past, cutting the long black shadow in half. After doing all this, Yi Chen did not stop. His left hand reached out from his waist, like a green dragon coming out of the water or a venomous snake coming out of its hole. He grabbed the rootless flower that was trying to escape through the air. Then, he shrank his body and flew backward, avoiding the surprise attack of another black shadow. On the shore, Yi Chen used an extreme rank jade box to store the rootless flower and put it in his storage ring. He then looked at the place where the undercurrent was surging. Swoosh! The sound of water breaking rang out, and an object the size of a small mountain appeared. Around the small mountain were long black shadows dancing in the air. There were a total of 8 of them. In the center of the small mountain, 2 lantern-like balls of light suddenly lit up. Each ball was the size of a water tank, giving off a strong sense of oppression. It was a black octopus, a huge black octopus. Its body was not round, but rather sharp and jagged. There were colorful patterns all over its body, which were bright and eye-catching. Just by looking at its appearance, one could tell that it was an extremely poisonous black octopus. Die, die, die. The black octopus spoke in the human language. Its voice was extremely creepy, going straight into people's souls. You are the one who will die. Putting his gold sword back into its scabbard, Yi Chen did not care about the black octopus at all. Boom. Yi Chen's words had angered the black octopus. Its water tank-sized eyes shone with a bright light, and all 8 of its tentacles waved in the air. It jumped out at Yi Chen, bringing up a beast-power wind pressure that was powerful enough to shatter mountains. A circular pattern spread out at an extreme speed. Lifting up both of his hands, Yi Chen looked cold. Shoo, shoo, shoo. In the next second, a beam of sword chi shot out from all 10 of his fingers, interweaving with each other like a huge green net. The black octopus was extremely fast, and it bumped into the green net. All of a sudden, the sound of countless sharp blades cutting through rocks was heard. Within a second, the black octopus's body was full of holes, and 3 of its tentacles had been cut off as well. They had all been shattered into pieces by that horrifying sword chi tornado. It seemed like it had not expected Yi Chen to be this horrifying. The black octopus screamed in fear, and its body shrunk before sinking down like lightning. Because it was sinking so fast, the lake water around it started to bulge up like an iron bucket, reaching dozens of meters high. The green light spot had the effect of blocking out soul power detection. Yi Chen waited for a while, and seeing that the black octopus did not show up again, he knew that it was scared. He could not help but smile, but soon, his smile froze on his face. He heard a dead air-piercing sound, so he turned around and saw a group of Jiyu family warriors with their eyes rolled up. The leader was indeed Jiyu Ping, who had a cold expression on his face. He was the only one who looked normal. These people have been possessed. Yi Chen could tell that something was wrong. Go. Jiyu Ping waved his hand, and all of the Jiyu family warriors who had been possessed jumped out at the same time, attacking towards Yi Chen, who was hundreds of meters away. At the same time, a huge amount of blurry human shadows mixed in with the Jiyu family warriors, waiting for the right moment to attack. A cold smile appeared on the corner of his mouth as Yi Chen lifted up all 10 of his fingers once again. Sword Chi Tornado. All out. With every breath, each of his fingers would shoot out dozens of Lotus Heart Sword Chi beams. Adding all 10 of his fingers together, there were hundreds of beams of Sword Chi beams. The beams of Sword Chi beams shot out one after another, shining like stars, enveloping the 10 people in front of him. Swoosh, swoosh, ting, ting. Some of the Jiyu family warriors were wearing top-rank defensive weapons, while some of them had taken out top-rank defensive shields. Half of them did not have top-rank defensive weapons, so under the Lotus Heart Sword Chi that contained the killing sword intent, their bodies were pierced through like a beehive, falling down onto the ground. Destruction Fist. Jiyu Ping moved with a cold face. He took one step forward, cracking the ground as he threw out a punch towards Yi Chen, which contained the destruction profound. The Lotus Heart Sword Chi had been destroyed, and Yi Chen took out his gold sword, waving out a crescent-shaped gold sword Chi that clashed with Jiyu Ping's fist power. Bang! Like a huge firework exploding, the intense shockwave spread out in all directions, blowing away a lot of the Jiyu family warriors who were unable to move forward. The mental power attack had even made a lot of blurry human shadows scream and back out, clearing out a huge area of space. Destruction Fist. 8 Movement. A cold light flashed through Jiyu Ping's eyes. His body shook once, and 7 shadows appeared in the air. Including his real body, there would be 8 of them in total. 8 Jiyu Pings threw out their destruction fists at Yi Chen at the same time. That powerful fist power had twisted the space around, tearing apart the rocks around. Yi Chen took a deep breath as his whole body turned into a black shadow, moving in between the fist power. Along the way, a lot of blurry human shadows attacked, trying to stop Yi Chen from moving. However, with the intense killing sword intent and destruction sword intent on Yi Chen's body, the blurry human shadows could only slow down Yi Chen a little bit. This brat is definitely a good clone. We cannot let him go. The voice from deep underground was a bit hurried. He had never seen a sword artist genius with 2 types of sword intents. Compared to Yi Chen, Jiyu Ping seemed a lot weaker. Double sword. Go. Appearing in front of Jiyu Ping's real body within a second, Yi Chen held the gold sword in his right hand and the emerald longsword in his left. He crossed the 2 swords and threw out his most powerful sword attack. As the 2 sword lights interweaved together, a dark blue thunder lightning ball appeared, devouring Jiyu Ping instantly. Boom! The thunder moved like a snake, and Jiyu Ping's whole body was blown away, blood pouring out of all of his orifices. Flashing his body to dodge the attacks of the other Jiyu family warriors, Yi Chen frowned and thought to himself, I have to finish this as soon as possible. It feels a bit weird. With that thought in mind, Yi Chen put the 2 swords back into their scabbards and took out his semi-extreme rank greatsword, the Thunder Disaster Sword. Woo! The sword body was like a beam of lightning as Yi Chen stabbed out with it. The sword's speed kept on increasing, and in the end, it was almost ignoring the distance between them. Swoosh! Jiyu Ping's throat was stabbed, and his eyes lost their light. So close. At that critical moment, the blurry human figure that had taken over Jiyu Ping's body jumped out of his body. It was not hit by Yi Chen's sword attack, since that sword attack contained an intense slaughter sword intent. If one was hit directly, even if they were not badly wounded, they would at least be slightly wounded. Sacrifice explosion. The rest of the Jiyu family warriors surrounded Yi Chen. Their bodies suddenly shone with an eye-piercing light as they started to explode. The explosion chi flow stacked together, which was enough to wound or even kill most of the master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors. Defense was Yi Chen's weakness, and an unprecedented sense of danger flashed through his mind. He performed his rarely used green lotus sword art. The sword light turned into a green lotus, covering him within while he himself increased the thickness of his protective Jinyuan layer, trying to block out the power of the explosion. Boom! The bottomless crack almost collapsed, and a huge crack appeared on the huge mountain above it, as if it had been cut in half by a huge axe. I hope you don't die. It would be such a shame if you did. Self-sacrificing explosion was not an ultimate secret art of the Jiyu family, but a secret art of the owner of the demonic will. His demonic will allowed him to take over other people's bodies and use them to perform self-sacrificing explosion. Naturally, it would be successful, and it would not harm his own body. After all, this explosion did not have a mental attack, it was purely a Jinyuan explosion. After the light faded away, Yi Chen was bleeding from all 7 of his orifices as he stood up with his sword. Haha. He is not dead yet. But, even if he is not dead yet, his body has been badly wounded, and his soul must be in a weakened state. It would be the perfect time for me to take over his body. Countless blurry human figures started to move, rushing toward Yi Chen. Yi Chen activated his slaughter sword intent and destruction sword intent, bouncing away the attacks from the blurry human figures. However, the sudden weakening of his soul had caused his sword intent to lose its endurance. Performing the undying body would consume a huge amount of Yuan Qi, which he would have to rely on pellets to replenish. But there was no time for that right then. His body had been badly wounded, and his soul, which was closely connected to his body, was also extremely weak. Right now, Yi Chen was at his weakest. Right then, the strongest blurry human figure jumped out of Ji Yu Ping's body and jumped toward Yi Chen. Without much of a hindrance, the blurry human figure entered Yi Chen's body. Right at the moment of successfully taking over his body, an extremely powerful mental light suddenly shone out of Yi Chen's body. An old man's shadow appeared out of nowhere, and with a closer look, it was indeed the leader of the Dragon God Heaven Palace, the Dragon King. The Dragon King's shadow yelled, and an invisible mental power attack spread out. All of the blurry human figures disappeared one after another. What? Rank 7 mental power, an unbelievable voice came from deep under the ground. Chapter 576. The higher the level of the martial spirit, the harder it would be to improve. Correspondingly, the increase in power would be even bigger. Although the rank 5 martial spirit and rank 6 martial spirit seemed to be only 1 rank apart, the power of the will would be a couple of times more powerful. And, the gap between rank 6 and rank 7 would be even bigger than the gap between rank 5 and rank 6. If the rank 5 martial spirit was the king-level martial spirit, then the rank 7 martial spirit would be the emperor-level martial spirit. Any warrior with the emperor-level martial spirit could kill a master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior with just one look. It was the gap that could not be crossed. Although the existence deep underground had a peak demonic soul of the 7th order, the demonic will he split out was only at the 5th order, and the main demonic will was only at the 6th order. How could they withstand the attack of a 7th order will? So, with this shout, all the ordinary demonic wills and the main demonic will present died. As he spoke, the being in the underground groaned. Losing one demonic will would not be a big deal, but losing hundreds of demonic wills and a main one would be a huge problem. The loss of the demonic will would not have much of a side effect on his demonic soul, because the side effect would be reflected directly on his soul. But, because of this shout, his soul, which had just recovered to its peak condition, had suddenly been badly damaged. Without the help of treasures, he might not be able to recover even after dozens of years. Damn it! How did I not think of it? A king warrior with a rank 6 martial spirit could leave a trace of will in someone's soul ocean. It would not appear normally, and would only appear in a life and death situation. I was too careless. After mumbling for a while, the being in the underground started to get serious. You have hurt my soul. How could I let you leave in one piece? Even if I have to hurt my soul even more, I will still take over your body. Woo! A shrill wind howled, and dozens of blurry figures emerged from the depths of the ground. The ones in the front were obviously the two main demonic wills. Because the lake was not far from the depths of the ground, the distance between the two sides was rapidly shrinking. With the protection of the Dragon King's willpower, Yi Chen finally had the chance to swallow a yuan qi replenishing pellet. With the abundant yuan qi surging inside his body, Yi Chen performed his undying body art immediately. As he did so, his wounded body started to heal at a visible speed. Within a blink of an eye, all the wounds on his body had disappeared completely, and his soul, which had a subtle connection with his body, started to get rid of the weakness as well. Such a powerful self-destructing explosion. Letting out a deep breath, Yi Chen was still a little scared. All of them were Sea of Soul Realm experts. Their Zhen Yuan was extremely powerful, and had already formed a Zhen Yuan Sea in their Dantian. At close range, it was enough to injure Sea of Soul Realm masters. Exploding together, no Sea of Soul Realm master would be able to survive. Fortunately, Yi Chen was 100 meters away from them, so he only felt the power of the aftershock, which was equivalent to a Sea of Soul Realm expert exploding at close range. Yi Chen, this will of mine can only last for 15 minutes. Then, it would be more or less disappeared. Dragon Spirit of the Yi Chen. Yi Chen, this will of mine can last for another 15 minutes. Yi Chen asked, Senior Dragon King, are you talking to me? Yi. With him. More. The dragon. B. Seeing that the other party didn't reply, Yi Chen understood that this will didn't have much connection with Dragon King anymore. The reason it could speak was because it had been set up to remind him. Let's find the shadowless grass first. With a flicker of his body, Yi Chen flew deeper. He needed to find the shadowless grass within 15 minutes. If he couldn't find it in 15 minutes, he would have to give up and leave the underground crack immediately. Compared to his life, a stalk of shadowless grass was worthless. Many blurry figures bumped into Yi Chen, but they did not attack. They were very afraid of the Dragon King's apparition and did not want to fight a rock with an egg. They were waiting for the Dragon King's apparition to dissipate. After all, there was a limit to the amount of a will and it could not exist forever. Not here. Not here either. Where is the shadowless grass? Yi Chen was slightly anxious. Half of the 15 minutes had already passed. If he still couldn't find it, he could only give up. The yin qi in other places is very heavy, but why is the yin qi here so faint? It seems neutral and peaceful. Coming to a narrow cave, Yi Chen sensed something different. Shadowless grass grows in an environment with extremely heavy yin qi. The energy it contains is neutral and peaceful, which makes it hard to sense. Used to concoct medicine, it can make the medicine invisible, colorless, and tasteless. It is one of the top-rank spirit grasses, priceless. Information about the shadowless grass flashed through Yi Chen's mind. There might be some shadowless grass here. Letting out a mouthful of impure qi, Yi Chen pushed his soul power and started to search inch by inch, not letting go of any clues. After a long time, Yi Chen found that the yin qi in the left corner of the cave was the faintest. No, there was not even a trace of yin qi there. With that corner as the center, the neutral and peaceful qi spread out in a circular shape, and the yin qi was getting weaker and weaker. In other words, the source of the yin qi was that corner. Shoo! Flying over, Yi Chen bent down and started searching. Swoosh! Out of nowhere, Yi Chen's palm touched a couple of leaves. The leaves shook and made a light sound, but there was nothing in his sight. Shadowless grass. His eyes brightened. Yi Chen's right hand was like a blade, stabbing it down and then pulling it up. All of a sudden, a meter of land was dug out. I can leave now. Although he could not see the shadowless grass, Yi Chen was sure that it was in his hand. Without any other thoughts, Yi Chen put the shadowless grass together with the soil into his storage ring, then turned around and went back the way he came. His speed had been pushed to his limit, making him look like a weightless cloud of smoke. When he got back to the lake, Yi Chen did not slow down at all, continuing to fly. You want to leave? The being in the deep underground could tell that something was wrong with the demonic will. With a cold snort, all of the demonic will went through the rock wall and blocked in front of Yi Chen. Demonic will drill. 4 blurry human figures merged together, turning into a shapeless drill, drilling toward Yi Chen, who was protected by the Dragon King's shadow. Ho! The Dragon King's shadow yelled as he reached out his hand to block out the demonic will drill. Let's see how many of them you can block out. More demonic will drills shot over, attacking toward Yi Chen from all directions. Besides, the Dragon King's phantom had let out a loud yell at the very beginning, which had destroyed hundreds of demonic wills and one main demonic will. The rest of it had been focused on defense. Plus, the Dragon King had told Yi Chen before that this will power that had been poured into his Sea of Soul could only be used for defense, and did not have any attacking power. As for why it had attacking power at the very beginning, Yi Chen had no idea. He guessed that it had something to do with the Dragon King's will power when it tried to take over his body, which had provoked the Dragon King's will power. With both of his hands blocking out 2 of the demonic will drills, the rest of them all landed on the Dragon King's shadow, bringing up circles of ripples. The Dragon King's shadow dimmed a bit, but it did not let the demonic will drills break through the defense. Damn it, if I don't succeed this time, I will suffer a huge loss. The existence deep underground made up his mind and immediately fused the 10 blurry human figures together, forming an extremely sharp and huge demonic will drill. The demonic will drill spun in the air, letting out a grumbling sound as it pierced into the Dragon King's shadow's forehead. Ka! Cracks appeared on the Dragon King's shadow. After all, it was just a rank 7 will, and its endurance was not endless. Since the first attack did not work, the remaining demonic will all fused together, forming another huge demonic will drill that struck the Dragon King's shadow. The Dragon King's shadow was covered in cracks, like an invisible crystal that was about to shatter at any moment. Not good. Yi Chen squinted his eyes as he felt a huge sense of danger. Swish! Waves of sword light appeared around his body as Yi Chen gave up on going back. Instead, he rushed toward the top of the crack. It was only a few dozen miles away from the surface. Even if he were to pass through the rocks, he would only need a few dozen breaths to get out. Like a sword light, Yi Chen shuttled through the tightly packed rocks. When he encountered a metal mine, he would also pass through it, igniting a large number of sparks. Want to run? All of the normal demonic will disappeared, and the last 2 main demonic wills ignored the rocks and continued to travel at an extreme speed. Their speed was dozens of times faster than Yi Chen's, appearing right in front of Yi Chen in the blink of an eye. Break for me. One of the main demonic will drill turned into a demonic will drill and shattered the Dragon King's shadow, causing it to shrink into Yi Chen's Sea of Soul. Piss off. After the Dragon King's shadow was shattered, Yi Chen took out his Thunder Disaster Sword and stabbed out. The sword body contained a powerful slaughter and destruction sword intent. Although the great sword could not increase the sword intent's power, with the sword in his hand, Yi Chen could feel that the sword intent had become more condensed and sharp. Swoosh! Piercing through the main demonic will, Yi Chen followed. It's useless. The last demonic will was extremely powerful, reaching the peak of rank 6. Although Yi Chen's slaughter and destruction sword intents could suppress it, with such a huge difference in rank, the effect was almost negligible. This demonic will followed Yi Chen like a shadow, trying to invade his body. His Sea of Soul brought up huge waves as Yi Chen once again felt the danger of being taken over. The process was extremely horrifying. Once halfway through, he would feel like his limbs were no longer under his control, and he would only be able to watch it happen. Once he was taken over, he would no longer be himself. At least, his soul would be invaded, becoming someone else's, and his memories would be taken as well. He could not imagine why the shadowless demons in the underground crack were so different from the ones in the legends. Even the most ordinary ones were extremely powerful, and the most powerful ones were 10 times more powerful. Haha. With this incarnation, I can slowly recover my previous losses. Moreover, this incarnation might be able to reach the life and death realm in the future, becoming the 1 in 10,000 Sword King. With the Sword King incarnation and the special nature of my body, who in this world could be my opponent? The being in the deep underground was very happy. The main demonic will had almost completely merged with Yi Chen's body, and its powerful willpower started to erase Yi Chen's consciousness and the soul mark that he was born with. Right then, the slaughter sword spirit in Yi Chen's sea of soul started to vibrate crazily, and so did the second sword spirit. They seemed to have sensed an unprecedented danger. Meanwhile, the destruction element in the deep of the sea of soul rushed up and merged with the second sword spirit. Woo! The second sword spirit's color was changing, turning into a black color with an extreme destruction chi. The black color dyed the tip of the sword, and a complete destruction sword intent burst out, merging with the slaughter sword intent and attacking toward the intruder. What? No! A scream came from the deep underground. Chapter 577. The slaughter sword intent and the destruction sword intent had the advantage of being the host, and they had a suppressive effect. On the other hand, the main demonic will was an outsider, so it was strongly rejected by the soul ocean. Under such circumstances, the main demonic will had been pushed out of the soul ocean by the two sword intents. However, it was not over yet, because the main demonic will was just a strand of it, and it would not be able to continue. On the other hand, the slaughter sword intent and the destruction sword intent were continuously growing, and they were always at their peak condition. It had not only pushed the main demonic will out of the soul ocean, but also destroyed a part of it. It was like a vicious cycle. The weaker the main demonic will was, the faster the slaughter sword intent and the destruction sword intent would destroy it. After 2 to 3 blinks of an eye, the main demonic will had been destroyed by the two sword intents together before it could leave Yi Chen's body. Damn it, even you are helping that brat. You didn't come earlier or later, but you just had to let him make a breakthrough at this moment. The continuous failures and severe injuries had made the existence in the underground world blame the heaven and earth. He even started to curse the heaven. He had been sealed in the underground world for hundreds of years, and finally, the seal had been loosened, allowing him to send out some demonic will. However, he had never thought that after only 1 year, he would be so unfortunate, and his soul would be continuously damaged, which had even damaged his foundation. It had taken him hundreds of years to recover his soul to its peak condition. Of course, the thing that had driven him crazy the most was that Yi Chen was one of a kind. With this clone, even if his real body was sealed in the underground world for the rest of his life, he would still be able to become an extremely powerful sword king with this clone. He would be able to walk to the peak with another identity. Seeing that he was about to succeed, the tables had turned instantly, which was a huge blow that normal people could not understand. I hate that Star Emperor who sealed me underground, and I hate that Battle King who injured my soul with his immortal sword intent, causing my soul to only recover to its peak state today. I hate that brat even more, because he made my hundreds of years of hard work go up in smoke. Are these 3 my nemesis? Even if they are, one day, I will break free and make you my incarnation. The demonic thought that he had split out was gone. He had already given up the thought of possession. After all, at this moment, his soul had been severely injured. Even if he continued to split out the demonic thought, it would not be as powerful as before. Moreover, the two sword spirits of Yi Chen were able to restrain the demonic thought. The demonic thought was like throwing a meat bun at a dog. How could he do such a stupid thing? After cursing all the people he hated in his heart, he finally calmed down and seemed to fall into a deep sleep. Bang! The ground cracked open, and Yi Chen rushed out. That was close. Standing under the sunlight, Yi Chen felt a lot safer. He could vaguely feel that this place was not as simple as an underground crack. There must be some kind of shocking secret, especially the fact that the shadowless demons had merged together and formed a drill to attack. It was not something that the shadowless demon could do, since it was only born with the evil intent of possession. However, just like his soul talent, it needed enough pressure to grow fast. Before, when he was being chased by the powerful warriors of the Ao family, he had trained half of his undying body in a short time. This time, when he was facing the shadowless demon's forceful possession, he once again activated his horrifying potential, merging his second sword spirit with the destruction element and forming the destruction sword spirit. The destruction sword spirit's rank was the same as the slaughter sword spirit, also at the peak of rank 4. However, judging on power, it was more powerful than the Slaughter Sword Spirit. The Slaughter Sword Spirit could perform the peak of rank 5 power, and although the Destruction Sword Spirit would not reach rank 6, it was still very close to it. Fortune and misfortune go hand in hand. I knew it. Running into the shadowless demon, which was even more horrifying than the rumors, was a disaster, while the Destruction Sword Spirit was a blessing. It was hard to tell if it was a blessing or a curse, but it could only be said that fortune and misfortune went hand in hand. This is not a good place to stay. I need to leave first. Not in a hurry to check out the changes in his soul ocean, Yi Chen's body flashed, turning into a blue light and flying into the sky. Soon, he disappeared without a trace. After about 15 minutes, the space above the crack suddenly shattered like a mirror. At the same time, a horrifying destructive chi spread out along with the broken space, crushing many mountains and creating countless cracks on the ground. Shoo! A figure walked out of the surreal space. Behind him, the space was slowly healing up. This person was around 60 years of age and wore a bright yellow robe. His thin face was angular like ancient jade, and it was full of texture. His long grey hair danced without any wind, and it caused the space around it to distort. His gaze pierced through the surface and into the depths of the earth. Ping Er's body. The elder in yellow robes saw Jiyu Ping's body, his eyes filled with killing intent. Who is it? Who killed Ping Er? The dim jade tag in the elder's hand was crushed by him, turning into nothingness. The Jiyu family of the East Royal City was a rank 5 family. They had once had a titled king warrior, the East King. Even in this day and age, the Jiyu family was no longer as powerful as before, but no one dared to underestimate them. Because in this generation, there were 2 king warriors in the Jiyu family. One was the East King, and the other was the Destruction King. The East King had inherited the legacy of the East King, so he was called the East King. His power was immeasurable, while the Destruction King had found another way to learn the rare destruction profound. The elder in yellow robes was indeed one of the 2 king warriors of the Jiyu family, the Destruction King. As a 5th rank family that had existed for more than 10,000 years, the Jiyu family's foundation was very deep. They had a life hall, and inside the life hall, there were many life jade plates. These life jade plates didn't have any great use, and they were only tools to imprint the life imprints of important people in the family. If an important person died, the life imprint in the life jade plate would also disappear, and the light would dim, telling the Jiyu family that the person had died. Jiyu Ping was so young, but he already had the master level power. Without a doubt, he was one of the few important people in the Jiyu family, and the person that the Jiyu family would spend all of their resources to train. Therefore, as soon as he died and the jade tag dimmed down, the whole Jiyu family was in an uproar, which alerted the Destruction King. Once the Destruction King got the news, he used the other life jade tag that Jiyu Ping carried with him to find the exact location. Then, he traveled 5 million miles and arrived at the scene as soon as he could. But, it was obvious that the killer was already far away, leaving only Jiyu Ping's dead body behind. Trying his best to control his anger, the Destruction King closed both of his eyes. The soul power in between his eyebrows exploded, spreading out at an unimaginable speed. 1,000 miles, 5,000 miles, 10,000 miles, 15,000 miles. After reaching 15,000 miles, the Destruction King saw that there were no suspicious people around, so a bright white light suddenly shone in between his eyebrows. As the white light shone, his soul power detection range increased by a couple of times, reaching 100,000 miles. When the soul power scanned through a young man in blue, the Destruction King did not think too much about it, because he was only at peak level early C of Soul's realm. Even if he could fight beyond his realm, it would still be impossible for him to kill Jiyu Ping, who had the master level power. If he were to say that the young man in blue was suspicious, then there would be a lot of other suspicious people within 100,000 miles. He had found at least dozens of people who were above mid-C of Soul's realm, and some of them were young martial geniuses. There were even 1 or 2 young martial geniuses that even the Destruction King did not want to mess with, since any young martial genius would have a very powerful background in the Sky Martial region. No, not even one. The Destruction King pulled back his soul power, his face looking very gloomy. Boom. Taking a deep breath, the Destruction King reached out his right hand and patted on the ground. All of a sudden, the ground started to shake, and a huge crack appeared. The ground underneath the crack started to rise up slowly, eventually reaching the height of the ground. On the ground that had risen up, the dead bodies of Jiyu Ping and the rest of the Jiyu family appeared in front of the Destruction King's eyes. However, their faces were hard to recognize, because their heads and limbs were all gone. It seemed like they had been through a huge explosion before they died, and only their torsos, which were protected by the top-rank defensive items, were still intact. However, the insides were also a pile of rotten meat. In other words, if it were not for the fact that the Destruction King had recognized Jiyu Ping's top-rank defensive item and his life jade tag, he would not have been able to tell that it was Jiyu Ping down there. Chem. This chi. The moment the corpse rose up, the Destruction King frowned as he sensed a chilling aura. This chilling aura was extremely unusual, as if it was left behind by a demonic being that practiced demonic arts. It made him feel very uncomfortable, and he could sense a faint threat from it. No wonder Ping had died here. It turns out that there was a king warrior of the beast race here. He must have been wounded, or sealed. Crack. His body flashed like lightning, and the Destruction King suddenly dropped down. His protective Zhen Yuan layer was like cutting through tofu, easily penetrating through the ground and reaching the deepest part of the ground. With only a shake of his body, the Destruction King arrived at the place where Jiyu Ping had died. Of course, this place had already been lifted up by him, so it was nothing but ruins. After sensing for a while, the Destruction King flew toward the deepest part of the ground. His speed was so fast that it was no different from teleportation. Just as the Destruction King got close to the crack, the being in the deepest part of the ground woke up. He was in a deep sleep before, so he did not sense the Destruction King's approach. He only noticed it when the latter flew toward his hiding place. Life and Death Realm warrior. Not good. I guess I cannot stay here anymore. Damn it. I have to waste my power again. Before I leave, I will teach him a lesson. Through the crack of the seal, I can perform a full power mental attack at a close distance. The being in the deepest part of the ground did not seem to be that scared of the Destruction King. Going through the crack, the Destruction King arrived at the darkest place. The air there was extremely sticky, and it was filled with an invisible power field. Even the spreading of soul power seemed to be slowed down and twisted. Piss off. In the deepest part of the darkness, a soft voice was heard from somewhere. At the same time, a wave of horrifying demonic intent shot out, attacking toward the Destruction King. Swoosh. That will power already had the power to affect reality, shattering the rock wall behind the Destruction King into pieces instantly. Although the Destruction King had come with a lot of power, he was now in a very bad shape. Blood leaked out of the corner of his mouth. That demonic intent was way too horrifying. It was at least rank 7, no, it should be at the peak of rank 7. Although he had used his martial intent to defend against it, he was still wounded quite badly. Little brat, I will let you go this time. But the next time I see you, I will make you beg for death. That soft voice was floating in the air. It was only for a second before disappearing completely. With a fire burning in his heart, the Destruction King started to panic. He originally thought that a sealed or wounded Beast King would not be a threat to him. But, just now, the latter had only passed through some kind of barrier and wounded him with his willpower. If he were to break free from the seal, even 10 of him would not be his opponent. There are a lot of sealed places in the Sky Martial region, and some of them are demons and monsters that cannot be killed. They can only be sealed. Pingus' death cannot be blamed on anyone. Who told him to come to a sealed place? The Destruction King, who originally wanted to find the culprit, immediately gave up. Dying in the hands of an old monster like this was his only option. Chapter 578. After flying 40 to 50,000 li in one breath, Yi Chen finally stopped. This place was a normal mountain in the Sky Martial region. There was no one around. Scanning with his soul power, Yi Chen could only sense hunters coming into the mountain to hunt occasionally. The strongest among them was only at the condensing reality realm, while the weakest was at the mortal realm. They were all normal people. In the past half a year, I have not had the time to train in peace. My profound has been improving slowly. Oh well, I will train here for a while and try to increase my power. Drawing an arc in the sky, Yi Chen dove into the mountain. The mountain was indeed not that big, but it was only for the Sky Martial region. In the world where Yi Chen came from, it was already a huge mountain range, covering 700 to 800 miles. Circling in the air for a couple of times, Yi Chen chose a beautiful scenic spot with mountains and rivers, with a waterfall and a flying spring as his training spot for the next period of time. Swoosh! Before his body landed on the ground, a ferocious-looking fish flew out of the lake. It was dozens of meters long, its body covered in sharp spikes. Its tail was like a scorpion's, with a horrifying hook. Its mouth was full of sharp teeth that looked like huge iron nails. On its back, there were 2 pairs of dorsal fins, which seemed to have mutated before. They were wide and long, allowing it to fly in the sky without relying on its beast power. Its speed was extremely fast, not any slower than the birds in the sky. The strange fish's power was at rank 9, which was equivalent to a human Sea of Souls realm warrior. Adding on the mutation, its power was even more powerful than other beasts at the same level, and
This
its weird
temper
fish
was
was indeed a mutated
Yi
beast,
Chen's arrival
being
had
able to
provoked
escape
it,
from the
so it
dream-eating
flew out
wolf
of the
stream.
water while showing
Of course,
its teeth.
it was also
Yi
because
Chen
the
smiled
dream-eating wolf
lightly
soul
as he
had
patted
been
the
wounded
beast
and
tag
had
on
not
his waist
recovered
with
yet.
his right hand.
Otherwise,
Shoo.
even a
The
master-level
dream-eating
sea
wolf
of
with
red
red
realm
fur
warrior
and a
would
lot
have
of
to be
demonic
extra
eyes
careful.
on its forehead
With
flew
a
out.
scream,
The
the weird fish
dream-eating
did
wolf
not dare
had been
to stay
trapped
any
in there
longer
for too long.
It turned around
The moment
and
its
dove
feet
back into the
touched the
lake,
ground,
disappearing
it let out
without
a shrill
trace.
wolf howl.
You just
The
stay
strange
around
fish
here.
was shocked.
Don't go too
After
far.
all, the
Without
dream-eating
paying too
wolf
much
was
attention
one level
to the
higher than
strange
it,
fish,
reaching
Yi
level
Chen
10.
ordered the dream-eating
Its demonic
wolf.
power
The
was
dream-eating
obviously
wolf
stronger
nodded,
than its
and
own.
with a shoo,
However,
it flew into
the
the
strange
deep
fish
mountains
clearly
far
had
away.
a probing system
Shaking
that
his
could
head,
distinguish
Yi
strength.
Chen focused his
When it
attention
discovered
on
that
the
the
surroundings
dream-eating
again.
wolf was only of a
This
higher
place was
level and
extremely
might not
vast,
necessarily be
and there were
stronger
many
than
green
it,
mountains
it let out a
behind it.
terrifying cry
There were a
and
lot of
flapped its
small
wing-like
waterfalls
dorsal
pouring
fin.
down from the
Its
top of
huge
the
body
mountains.
suddenly
In
pounced on the
between some of the
dream-eating
mountain
wolf.
rocks,
When the
the natural
dream-eating
spring
wolf
water
saw that a
leaked out
demonic
from the
beast
inside
dared
of
to
the
provoke
mountains.
it,
The numerous
some of the
eyes on its
places were
forehead
sunken,
opened,
and
forming a
dim light
moderate-sized
flickered
deep
endlessly,
pool.
enveloping
In
the
front of
strange
the
fish.
mountains was
The
a clear
strange
lake
fish's
that seemed
movements
to be
became
endless.
sluggish,
The
as if it
water
had
was
fallen into a
sparkling,
dream,
and there were
its
all kinds
eyes
of fish
lifeless.
jumping out of
Creak.
the water from time to time, their scales reflecting the sunlight with 7 different colors. The scenery is good, but it will not last forever. Yi Chen did not lose his fighting spirit because of the beautiful scenery in front of him. On the contrary, the better the scenery was, the more it would stimulate his fighting spirit. Because he knew that beautiful things would disappear one day, and only his power would be with him forever. Sitting on a rock under the waterfall, Yi Chen closed his eyes and started to observe the changes in his soul sea. The soul sea was surging, and the silver light shone out. Above the soul sea, 3 swords were floating. The first sword was the slaughter sword spirit, the second was the destruction sword spirit, and the third was still in its embryonic form, which was not even 1/10 of the power of the previous 2 sword spirits. Before, the second sword spirit had not merged with the destruction element, but it had already resonated with the slaughter sword spirit. Right now, the destruction sword spirit had been formed, and the resonance between the 2 sword spirits had increased by 10 times. The slaughter sword intent and the destruction sword intent interweaved together, vibrating each other. The destruction sword intent carries the destruction will, so its element is higher than the slaughter sword intent. However, the slaughter sword intent should have been separated from the destruction sword intent. Although it is not as powerful as the destruction sword intent, it is not repelled by the destruction sword intent. Chem. The destruction sword spirit is devouring the slaughter chi? Yi Chen saw a shocking scene. The black destruction sword spirit was extremely powerful, and the destruction sword intent spread out, absorbing the slaughter chi from the slaughter sword spirit in a very small way. However, the slaughter sword spirit seemed to be very gentle, and did not resist at all. The slaughter comes from destruction, and the destruction contains the slaughter. The 2 are one. I wonder how much the devouring sword spirit will grow one day after it devours the slaughter sword spirit. Letting out a deep breath, Yi Chen withdrew his attention from his soul sea. Once the destruction sword spirit is formed, only the immortal sword spirit is still far away. But before that, I need to train the third embryonic sword spirit into a real sword spirit. Then, I can merge it with the immortal element and form the immortal sword spirit that is on par with the destruction sword spirit. Opening his eyes, Yi Chen raised his head and looked into the sky. Do not run around in this place. I will go to the extreme void sky to train the thunder profound. Through the soul mark, Yi Chen talked to the dream-eating wolf. He was not afraid of the dream-eating wolf, since the two of them were connected by soul. So, he would be able to sense anything that happened to the latter. Leaving it down there was only to let it take a breather, so that it would not get bored. Shoo! Bending his knees, Yi Chen shot up into the sky. That sharp sword chi broke through the sky, flashing once before disappearing. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. A black shadow stood near the ravaged underground fissure. It was the evil demon master. I am late. The evil demon master clenched his fists, his expression dark. Ever since he had become a master level C of Soul's Realm warrior, he had never been this frustrated before. If it were another master level C of Soul's Realm warrior, then it would be fine. But, it just so happened that it was an astral reaching realm warrior with a master level sword intent and a low cultivation base. I have to get the undying body secret art. According to the rumors, only by training the broken limb regrowth level would I have the highest chance of reaching the life and death realm. This is a way to reach the life and death realm. Grinding his teeth, the evil demon master flashed his body and left the place. Extreme void sky. Crack. Eye-piercing bolts of lightning struck everywhere, stirring up space ripples in the air. Wherever the thunderbolts reached, they were like sharp axes, splitting floating mountains into halves, and burning towering trees that were formed from wood power into black ashes, setting them ablaze. Boom! A thick lightning attacked toward Yi Chen. It contained an extremely profound thunder profound, making its speed dozens of times faster than normal. Sky thunder cut. Holding the long sword in his hand, Yi Chen threw out a sword attack. Crack! The two lightning clashed together, bringing up thousands of thunder fires. No, the thunder profound in this place is too weak. I can't get much enlightenment. With my power right now, it should be no problem for me to reach the highest place in the extreme void sky. With that thought in mind, Yi Chen braved the thunderstorm and flew toward the higher place. Boom! 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 This place was an ocean of thunder, and the thunder yuan qi in the surreal space had already reached a sticky level. Yi Chen had only gotten close to the edge, but his protective Jin Yuan was already showing signs of breaking down. As more and more thunder struck down, Yi Chen found it hard to even move around. Sky thunder cut. Reverse sky thunder cut. With the thunder disaster sword in his right hand and the gold sword in his left, Yi Chen fought against the incoming thunder. Swoosh! Right then, a thunder human figure flew over. It is the thunder spirit. Yi Chen's expression changed. Humans had intellect, and so did plants after a long time. Even metals and stones would have their own intellect. Places with thick thunder yuan qi would naturally give birth to thunder spirits. Thunder spirits were condensed from thunder yuan qi. The higher their intellect was, the stronger they would be. Moreover, they were born with the profound meaning of thunder, and their fighting power was unparalleled. The most terrifying thing was that thunder spirits were almost immortal in places with thick thunder yuan qi. Even if their bodies were destroyed, they could reform again in a second. Crackle! The thunder spirit waved its hand, and an endless thunderstorm attacked toward Yi Chen. Those shining thunder and lightning were even sharper than blades, blinding people's eyes. This thunder spirit was very powerful, even more powerful than Yi Chen. Within the time it took to make a pot of tea, Yi Chen had been struck dozens of times. If it were not for his immortal body, which allowed him to instantly recover, Yi Chen might have already fallen here, becoming a ghost under the thunder spirit's hand. Boom! His body had just recovered when a huge thunder suddenly appeared in the surreal space, striking down along the top of Yi Chen's head. As if he had been electrocuted, Yi Chen's body suddenly became transparent, looking like a huge light bulb. His meridians and organs could be seen clearly. Thunder, Thunder profound. I see. Being struck by the thunder, Yi Chen was severely wounded. If it were not for the fact that his soul power was powerful enough, this thunder strike would have annihilated his soul, and he would have died without a doubt. No matter how powerful his undying body was, it would still be useless. However, after being struck by such a powerful thunder strike, Yi Chen's understanding of the thunder profound instantly increased. He felt as if time had stopped, and the evolution of the thunder and lightning replayed in his mind. Sky Thunder Cut, completed. Suddenly opening his eyes, an electric arc flashed once before disappearing. Chapter 579. However, the Thunder Spirit was a life formed by thunder after all, so the sword attacks that contained the thunder profound would not be able to do much damage to it. That sword attack of Yi Chen's had only limited it for a moment. In the next second, it jumped out of the thunder sword power and reformed its body, looking perfectly fine. It is indeed the Thunder Spirit. Its battling power is so powerful. But the Sky Thunder Cut is not my most powerful sword attack in terms of power. It is way weaker than the Gold Resonant Radiance sword attack. Only when combined with the Reverse Sky Thunder Cut would it be my most powerful attack. Plus, using the Thunder Profound against the Thunder Spirit would be a waste of power. Seeing that the Thunder Spirit was perfectly fine, Yi Chen was not surprised at all. He was only here to learn the Thunder Profound, not to risk his life against the Thunder Spirit. Crack! The Thunder Spirit waved out countless lightning bolts, attacking toward Yi Chen once again. This time, Yi Chen did not use his Sky Thunder Cut against the Thunder Spirit. He did not even use any sword attacks, since he knew that attacking this kind of life formed by Yuan Qi would be pointless. So what if he could shatter their bodies? They would be able to reform again. So, he would have to use his willpower against them. Kill. Locking onto the Thunder Spirit, Yi Chen's forehead swelled up as his slaughter sword intent shot out. Woo! The Thunder Spirit's movement slowed down, and a thick thunder Yuan Qi could be seen leaking out of their bodies. Their bodies started to look a bit vague, as if they could shatter at any second. It is not easy for you to form a life form, so I will not kill you. Yi Chen's power was indeed not as powerful as the Thunder Spirit, but it did not mean that he could not kill it. The biggest weakness of the Thunder Spirit was its soul. Because it was a life formed by thunder, its soul was naturally weaker than any Sea of Souls realm warrior, and its willpower was also very weak. But Yi Chen's slaughter sword intent had reached the peak of rank 5, so it could naturally destroy the soul of the Thunder Spirit easily. In other words, it would be easier for Yi Chen to kill a Thunder Spirit that was more powerful than him than a Sea of Souls realm warrior that was weaker than him, since any Sea of Souls realm warrior would have their own martial willpower. After going through the martial willpower, Yi Chen's sword intent would not have that much of an attacking power. At least, it would not be able to destroy the soul of a Sea of Souls realm warrior that easily, unless the opponent's martial willpower was way weaker than his. Of course, this Thunder Spirit should not have been that long. If it were long enough, its soul would still be powerful. In fact, once the soul of a special kind of being became powerful, its power would be horrifying. In fact, Yi Chen had underestimated the effect of the 9-turn reverse spirit plant. The 9-turn reverse spirit plant could strengthen the soul, so naturally, it could heal the soul injury. It was difficult to strengthen the soul, but it was easier to heal the soul. So, these 6 leaves not only completely healed the dream-eating wolf soul, but also improved it further. The stronger the soul, the stronger the ability to create the dream. Howl. The soul was completely healed, and it was a lot stronger. The dream-eating wolf could not help but roar at the sky. The many eyes on its forehead opened, and the dim light spread out in waves. Everywhere it went, there was no clear boundary between reality and dream. As long as one entered the range of the dim light, they would fall into the dream-eating wolf's dream, and their life and death would be out of their control. As the owner of the dream-eating wolf, Yi Chen knew that although the dim light covered him, it would not affect him too much. It seems like I have made the right move. With the dream-eating wolf's ability to create dreams, even master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors would fall into the dream if they were not prepared for it. Once the opponent falls into the dream, Even if it is only for a second, I would be able to wound or even kill him. Yi Chen thought to himself. The dream-eating wolf's power was too powerful, and it would be of great help to him. As for the 9-turn reverse spirit plant, it did not matter anymore, since he did not know when he would be able to use it again. Rubbing the dream-eating wolf's fluffy fur, Yi Chen said, "In the future, when there is a life and death battle, you will not be able to stay out of it." Woo! Woo! The dream-eating wolf wagged its tail. It had been waiting for the battle for a long time, since it was its nature. It is so strange. The other beasts would be able to say a couple of simple sentences after reaching rank 9 or 10. Why can't you? Your soul is so much more powerful than theirs. Lowering its head, not being able to talk was a shame for the dream-eating wolf. It could not understand why it was so weak in this area. Haha. Brother, the dream-eating wolf is here. I have finally found it. In the distance, a group of human figures flew over. They were all at the Sea of Souls realm, and the one who was talking was a one-eyed man. In front of him was a middle-aged blade artist who had reached late Sea of Souls realm. Are you sure this is the dream-eating wolf? The middle-aged blade artist stared at the dream-eating wolf that was with Yi Chen. I was not sure before, but I saw it open all those eyes on its forehead, which made all the beasts stand there, waiting to be killed. The one-eyed man had seen the dream-eating wolf in the mountains a couple of days ago. He knew that he would not be able to take on the dream-eating wolf by himself, so he went back to call his brothers. After all, although the dream-eating wolf was good, he did not have the power to eat it. Plus, he did not have the beast tag. As long as you are sure. A greedy look flashed through the middle-aged blade artist's eyes. Yi Chen stroked the dream-eating wolf as he looked at the group of uninvited guests with cold eyes. You are the owner of the dream-eating wolf. Shoo, shoo, shoo. The group of people stood in midair as the leading middle-aged blade artist said to Yi Chen. Yi Chen said lightly, "Indeed. Sell the dream-eating wolf to me, and I will spare your life." Sell it to you? Yi Chen smiled. I am afraid that you cannot afford it. I am the leader of the Black Wind Gang, and I am in charge of this area. How about this? I am willing to pay 100,000 top-rank spirit stones for your dream-eating wolf. The middle-aged blade artist was still a bit afraid of the dream-eating wolf. He would not fight if he could, but the price was too high, and he was not willing. 100,000 top-rank spirit stones was his bottom line. Do you think that 100,000 top-rank spirit stones can buy a dream-eating wolf? Yi Chen sneered. What, you are not willing? The middle-aged blade artist's voice was cold, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Kill them. Yi Chen did not care about the middle-aged blade artist, and signaled the dream-eating wolf to create a dream. Since these people knew about the dream-eating wolf, they could not be allowed to leave alive, in case something happened. Shoo. Hearing this, the dream-eating wolf suddenly jumped into the sky, as fast as lightning. Keep your distance. Don't let it get close. Obviously, these people all knew how horrifying the dream-eating wolf was, so they all kept their distance from the dream-eating wolf. Unfortunately, they had underestimated the range of the dream-eating wolf's dream. A wavy light spread out, and besides the fastest middle-aged blade artist, the others all fell into the dream, standing there blankly. Seeing this, the middle-aged blade artist gasped. He threw out a blade attack toward the dream-eating wolf, hoping that this blade attack would be able to break the dream-eating wolf out of the dream. Die. Yi Chen pointed out his finger in the air. That huge blue finger ignored the distance and pressed onto the protective Jinyuan of the middle-aged blade artist. Pop! The middle-aged blade artist's body turned into a blood mist like a bubble, exploding into pieces. His storage ring and great items fell onto the ground. As for the others, there was no need for Yi Chen and the dream-eating wolf to do anything. Wounds appeared on their bodies all of a sudden, and the number of wounds grew more and more severe. Eventually, they all died in the dream, their corpses falling from the sky into the lake. Under the control of the dream-eating wolf, the line between the dream and reality was very blurry, unless one had a strong enough willpower. It seems like I have still underestimated your power. Yi Chen saw these people die on their own, so he could not help but sigh. He had seen a couple of movies called Nightmare Street in his previous world, and the power of the dream-eating wolf was quite similar to Freddy's. However, the dream-eating wolf's body could not enter the dream. Woo! All of a sudden, Yi Chen's finger with the storage ring vibrated a little. Frowning, Yi Chen took out a jade tag. There were a couple of markings on it, and the one pointing to the northwest lit up. Gather! This jade tag was given to him by Yang Fengfeng, and it was used to gather people. Hai Wuya and the rest also had theirs. Chapter 580. Come in, it is time for us to go. Patting on the beast tag with his right hand, Yi Chen called back the dream-eating wolf before flying into the sky. The flying puppet flashed once and appeared right below Yi Chen, just right for Yi Chen to sit on. In the next second, the flying puppet flapped its wings, turning into a beam of light and flying toward the northwest. Yang Fengfeng would not call us here for no reason. It should be a group adventure, right? Once they reached the Sea of Souls realm, all of the martial geniuses would treasure their lives a lot, since it was not easy to train to this level. Even if they could not make any progress in the future, they would at least not be ignored. Therefore, the martial geniuses would form their own factions, using the power of numbers to reduce the danger to the minimum. Throughout the ages, what killed the martial geniuses the most was not life and death battles or assassinations, but adventures, since no one knew what kind of dangers were lurking in the forbidden places. The unknown was always scary, because no one could predict what would be waiting for them in the next second. Coincidentally, my power has increased a lot recently, and the dream-eating wolf's ability to create dreams has improved as well. Maybe I can find some materials to make the antidote for the shadowless poison. Yi Chen was quite interested in this adventure. In the past, he could handle it all by himself, and there would be no danger at all. However, something that could catch Yang Fengfeng's attention was obviously not a normal adventure. After all, he could already guess a thing or two about her power. Shoo! The flying puppet's speed was getting faster and faster. After dozens of blinks, it had reached its highest speed. Time passed by quickly, and the black and white continued to change. It was a tall mountain, and under the mountain, the river was endless. On top of the mountain, two human figures stood there. The leading one was indeed the head disciple of the mysterious martial school, Yang Fengfeng, who was wearing blue robes. Right next to her was Ling Tianhao. Head disciple, is the savage ruin ancient place really that dangerous? Ling Tianhao had only reached the Sea of Souls realm not long ago, so there were some places that he was not qualified to go. Yang Fengfeng said, judging on the chance of dying, the savage ancient place is indeed not as dangerous as some of the forbidden places. It is because the place is huge enough, and it is impossible for there to be danger everywhere. But, we should not let our guard down either. There are some unknown dangerous places that even life and death realm warriors would have to be careful about. Although I have a broken map, I am not sure if I can get in and out safely. Ling Tianhao nodded. He had only heard about the savage ruin ancient place before, but had never been there before. Naturally, he did not know the details. He lifted up his head and looked into the distance. The Sky Ocean Martial School is not far from here. Hai Wuya should be here soon. I wonder when Yi Chen will be here. If he has already returned to the South Rudra region, then we would have to wait for a long time. Yang Fengfeng said, the savage ruin ancient place is full of savage evil qi, which will affect the Jin Yuan circulation and mental state. This month is the weakest month of the year. 3 days. If we do not get there in 3 days, we will leave. It had already been 10 days since she had notified Hai Wuya and Yi Chen. Adding on 3 days, it would be almost half a month. If Yi Chen was not too far away, he would have enough time to get there. The sun was burning hot in the sky, twisting the air under the sunlight. The rocks in the mountains were boiling hot. In the distance, 2 black dots were getting bigger and bigger. Haha, sorry to keep you waiting. Hai Wuya's bald head shone brightly under the sunlight, looking very eye-catching. Yang Fengfeng laughed, you are quite fast. Shoo, shoo. It was a young lady who came with Hai Wuya, looking very pretty. The two flashed their bodies and landed on the top of the mountain. Hai Wuya touched his bald head and said, I came as soon as I got the message. This is my sister disciple, Guan Qin. As for the other disciples, the master would not let them go. Yang Fengfeng chuckled. Which master would be willing to let all of their top disciples go into danger? They would have to leave some of them in the school. There were 4 top Sea of Soul's realm disciples in the mysterious martial school, but Yang Fengfeng had only brought Ling Tianhao. You are right. We should not put all of our eggs in one basket. Hai Wuya picked up the water bottle and took a sip before asking, where is Yi Chen? Did you inform him? Yes, but I don't know if he would make it in time. Yang Fengfeng took Yi Chen quite seriously, since Yi Chen was not weak at all. In fact, he was very powerful, close to these famous young martial geniuses. He was even more powerful than Ling Tianhao. We should inform him. The savage ruin ancient place is very dangerous. One more person would mean more confidence. Plus, he was able to stand out from the southern regions, so he must have a lot of powerful attacks. Head disciple, is he really that powerful? The pretty Guan Qin blinked her eyes, looking very innocent. Hai Wuya said, powerful, of course. If he was not powerful, how could he be ranked 3rd? Once they got back, Hai Wuya told his master everything about Yi Chen. Right now, all of the disciples basically knew about Yi Chen's name, so they were very curious about him. Before they knew it, it was already noon of the 3rd day. After today, we will leave. Why is Yi Chen not here yet? Ling Tianhao was a bit worried. Maybe he is too far away. Hai Wuya frowned. No hurry,